Welcome back, everyone. For today's stream, we have Magnus Carlsen against Jan Pomniachtchi. So, Hikaru, what do you expect from this game right here?
Yeah, so I mean, this is going to be a very interesting game with Magnus having the black pieces after that miss in the first game. I think that the opening, it'll be very interesting to see whether Magnus tries to be solid with e4, e5, or whether he tries to play on the edge by playing a Sicilian. Obviously, Nepo has done a lot of preparation in recent years, specifically with the World Championship match. So there is some risk to Magnus trying to be aggressive or play something less solid. But I still expect him to kind of play a Sicilian anyway, and he does, yeah. Yeah, so, okay.
But we have bishop e5. So do you expect knight d7 or bishop d7 here, or knight c6 for Magnus?
If I had to guess, I would assume he'll play knight d7. That would be my best guess here. But I expect one of the knight moves. Bishop d7 is also completely fine, but I think it's a little bit easier for easier for white to play. We're not muted, are we?
I don't.
No, we're not. I think
okay.
that's just a troll. Yeah, it's always annoying.
Oh, okay. It's just a troll. Okay, fair enough. I wasn't.
I mean,
sure.
we saw from the chat's reaction who appreciated Ben's intro into the stream.
Okay, fair enough. So we got knight d7, castles a6, bishop e2. Magnus goes knight f6. It is very clear that Magnus has been studying a lot of Sicilians in recent times. I think maybe he's just gotten bored of playing e4, e5 every game, so that's probably a large part of the reason. But he seems to be playing a lot of Sicilians.
So, Hikaru, I'm not familiar with this line with bishop e2 and d3. What is the whole... Although I think I might have had this in a bullet game against Anish, and again, after g6, he did something like knight fd2 and f4. Is that the idea here?
Yeah, I was going to say maybe it's knight g5 and f4 is the idea. But yeah, bishop e2 definitely is unusual. I mean, normally white plays bishop takes d7. So Magnus is thinking here, though, which I think sort of says that Nepo must have prepared this for one of the World Championship matches of candidates. And Magnus is not super familiar with it, which is why Magnus is thinking here. I assume he's just debating whether to play e6 or g6, one of those two moves. And we'll see what he chooses to do. But it's interesting that he's thinking here. Clearly, this is not something that he's looked at recently.
Hikaru, let me ask you something that's not related to the game. We saw Jan in game one sitting in complete darkness. Now the lights have come on. Do you think that that's something he's been asked to do in terms of an anti-cheating measure?
I doubt it has anything to do with anti-cheat, but I think it also just looks really weird if he's just playing complete darkness, frankly. I think that it's just like a look that certainly probably chess.com doesn't want for the audience, I'm guessing. That's probably what it is. But yeah, it's definitely better he has the light on than not having it on. That much is clear, because if he's playing without the lights on, I guess there is some potential of something happening. But regardless of that, I think that's one of the drawbacks is now everyone's very paranoid about cheating and all this other stuff. And everything that's going on. So, it's a byproduct, I think, of all of that.
So
actually, I wanted to add one thing is one thing that changed also with chess.com is their whole anti-cheat system. Well, their whole method with the CCT was essentially you have to show your room, and you have to show I think it's users when you go to your task manager. You have to show the users, because I guess theoretically and techie people could tell me this, but if you don't show your apparently, like, there could be somewhere that you have multiple users connected or something, so you have to show your task manager and show the users, and of course it's obviously only you that's doing it. But they also added something with the display where you have to show the display monitor now, and that's definitely something new that did not exist prior to this previous Chess Champions Tour event. And I think that's also based around all the Kramnik and Nepo stuff, specifically with like people being able to, like, I guess, share the screen somehow with like someone in the room or someone somewhere else, or all kinds of other insanity. But that is one thing that I did notice that has changed from previous events.
I thought that was already a thing where you had to share your entire screen.
No. You misunderstood
browser.
me, Benjamin. No, I don't mean share the screen during the game. I'm saying that if you click the start menu, the Windows key, and you type in display
task manager
settings. No, I'm saying type in display settings, and it shows your system and your display. Like mine shows two monitors, like multiple displays. I don't know what that means. I guess theoretically it means there's probably some way, I guess, that in your system and display you could, I guess, theoretically share it with like someone else randomly. But that is something new, is that you have to show your display settings, and that was never part of it. The screen share has been around since these events started, but the showing display settings in Windows was not something that I was aware of prior to this event, and I think it's something new, specifically because of all the Kramnik stuff.
So that was only in this event, because they had not asked me in previous events to do so.
Yeah, I think that it's
was already
new.
A thing in previous Champions Chess Tour events?
No, I mean, all the previous ones I played in, it wasn't just this one. Mind you, I didn't play the last one, but I have played, I think, is it 3 or 4 of the events, and it's never been something, not this year, not before, not otherwise. I mean, I'm sure there's someone watching the stream who could tell me what that means, but I just know that, like, they're asking everybody to show the display settings, and I don't know. Again, I'm sure there's someone in chat who could explain it, who would understand that. But I guess what it means is, I think I figured it out. So I just open system and display. I think there's a button which says detect other display, and I guess you can click detect, and it doesn't. We didn't find another display. So I guess there's some way that theoretically you could share your display with, I guess, someone connected on the network or something like that. But that is definitely new to this specific event.
Mm-hmm. And yeah, I just wanted to add one last thing. I think the fact that Nepo had to turn off the light, it could have to do with fair play, because I think also one of my matches, it was a little bit dark in here, and they asked me to turn on some lights. I think it's a bit of both. It looks better on the broadcast, and also for fair play.
That is true. Yeah, if it's dark, you can't see. I mean, you could have your Russian friend sitting right next to you and doing something.
Night of Sikhs.
Yeah, I mean, or maybe trying to hack the Ukrainian system, with that ridiculous nonsense. But anyway, let's get back to the main topic. Let's not go off the rails here.
What? You're saying this isn't the main topic?
Yeah. So anyway, yeah. So, but you know what's amazing about this game, though? Apparently the computer likes G4 here, which is very, very bold. But it's also a very critical moment too.
Is that something you would play or consider?
I mean, I think it's a very hard move to play here, just because it looks. I feel like if you've seen the structure before, you've seen some G4 idea with like this position with knights on C3 and D2, maybe you can find it. But I feel like if you haven't actually seen the idea, it's very strange, because it looks very much like a French structure right now. He plays it. Wow.
And he does find G4.
Nice.
Do you think it's a matter of finding G4, or do you think he might have been familiar with the idea?
I think more. I didn't see how long he used on the move. My intuition says it's a combination of both. I suspect that he's probably seen a similar variation within this line with this whole E6 setup, where he'd probably seen some G4. But then also, I think it's just like, what else do you do? If you don't play G4, you either have to take on D5 or play E5, and your knight on D2 isn't great either, because it doesn't have a jump to C4. So G4 actually makes quite a bit of sense.
Mm-hmm. He did play it after 2.5 minutes, and a very astute response there by Magnus. He played knight b8 after 11 seconds. So I assume after g5, he wants to go knight e8. Now the d5 pawn is also guarded by the queen. And I guess the way you're going to reroute your pieces, go knight c7 and knight c6, because for the moment, knight c6 is not available, as it would hang this pawn. But I like what Nepo is doing here.
I mean, I like what he's doing, but I think there's a problem, which is Nepo is not stockfish. I mean, for a computer, this is a dream position, but I feel like in human play, even though the computer gives white a big advantage here, the ideas are not obvious to me. Magnus has much easier moves. Knight c7 and knight c6 seem like two very simple moves. There's always f6 as well to try and go after the pawn on g5. And so because Magnus's moves here, I feel like, are a lot simpler, I think it's going to be a lot harder for Nepo to play here. And that's one of those things where the computer might give a big edge, but if the ideas are not obvious and your opponent has easy moves, it can be very difficult to play.
Do you think Jan will be happy with the position he's gotten, or do you think he can sense this, might be a bit easier for Black to play?
I think that in general, for Jan, he probably knows this is good for him. One of the things that actually shows that this is a complicated position is Jan is using his time. He is not just blitzing out moves here. And that's clearly a sign that he's not 100% sure of what to do. Because when Nepo has a plan, he just blitzes every move immediately, doesn't really think at all. So it's pretty clear that he has he's not super familiar with the ideas here. So he's using his time. And I think it's gonna be hard to play. Like queen e2 and queen g2 is apparently the way to play it according to the computer, at least the weak engine. Does not necessarily feel natural to me. Like h4 or rook e1 seem a little bit easier, or bishop g2, very natural move that he plays here, retreating the bishop. So tricky. I guess the one good thing for Jan is that he has ideas like Queen G4 or Queen H5 here. Those seem like the obvious ideas in this position. So I guess now it gets back in the realm where he has some pretty straightforward moves. But I still do worry in the long term about the queenside pieces, the queen, the bishop, and the rook, and where they're going.
So what about Queen H? Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Fiona.
No, you go ahead.
Oh yeah. So what about Queen H5 here, followed by Rook F3 and Rook H3? How's Magnus planning to stop that?
I assume you just play Knight C6 and just ignore it, right? And Rook F3, Knight D4, Rook H3, and H6 or something like that. I mean, it looks very, very superficial because you have no development. You've got this Knight on D2, Bishop on C1, Rook on A1 that are just doing absolutely nothing. So it feels very superficial. I mean, I have a feeling this game is going to go completely in Magnus's direction the next 5 or 6 moves, just because this is a position where a computer can play it perfectly, but I think to a human where you're lacking in the straightforward, obvious ideas and Magnus's simple developing moves, it could definitely go here. Although Knight C4 is a very, very good move from Jan here, going after the pawn on B6. And I guess the idea is you just want to put the knight on E3 after Rook A7, or wait, Rook A7, Knight E3.
But how do you defend this pawn? Okay, so Knight E7, Knight E3, yeah, and then how do you defend the pawn on D5?
Yeah, actually, if this knight gets to E3, it looks quite scary. Wow, he plays Knight C6 instantly.
What is the idea?
Knight B6, Rook B8, Knight takes D5, and then what?
I think he's just down 2 pawns.
By the way, I like Nepo's look on the cam. He has the squinty eyes where he's like, "What's going on here?" Magnus just sacked 2 pawns.
Well, and Magnus is shaking his head. I mean, he didn't miss Knight takes B6 altogether. Well, but he looks really. He does not look happy.
No, I think he missed. I think he missed the pawn on D5's hanging. I think he thought that after Rook B8, the pawn on D5 was guarded.
I guess he didn't I guess he didn't mind sacking 1 pawn. Also, the knight is trapped here, but sacking 2 is a bit much.
Yeah, I think the players can see each other. For anyone who's wondering, they are in the Zoom call. So, that being said, however, like after Knight D4, I mean, it's still good for White, but there are some issues here, long term.
Yeah, so I guess now you're gonna have to go C4 to guard the knight. I mean, you can go Knight E3, but it's a little bit passive. And Hikaru, when you play these events, you still keep your opponent's cam open, right, in Zoom?
Yes. Yeah, I always keep it in the top right corner of the monitor, just to have some idea of what's going on, basically. But yeah, I mean, Nepo has great chance to win this game. Great chances.
Mm-hmm. How much do you think he got how much did game 1, how much of a boost did it give him, the fact that he was able to save that?
I mean, probably a huge boost, because like I said, I think Magnus should have won that like 90 to 95% of the time. But of course, the irony is that, as usual, even though Magnus makes a big blunder, he still has some accidental compensation in this position, despite being down 2 pawns. And that is one of the things that's very annoying about Magnus, is he does make blunders like everybody else, but somehow when he does blunder, it's still within the realm of where, like, it's not the end of the world most of the time. And it's very annoying to deal with, like, because against me, when he blundered, I mean, I know I missed one with Bishop D4, but even after that, somehow it was still tricky in all those end games. And so here, like, he is worse, but he's got a great knight on D4. There's pressure on the B file, and it's not completely clear to me how Nepo proceeds.
Right. Yeah. No, I mean, you would want to move out this bishop, but you hang B2, and also, I mean, there's knight F5 as a response. Mm-hmm. Maybe like Rook B1 to guard a pawn, and then like B3, Bishop B2, or Bishop B3 after.
Yeah, I mean, I guess, but it's Rook B1, Rook E8 though doesn't seem obvious to me. So
right. Yeah.
Like it's I mean, it is winning, make no mistake. I mean, he is up 2 pawns. He should win this, but it's again in a rapid game or a blitz game specifically, it's one of those situations where even though you're doing very well, it's tricky because you can't spend all this time, and Magnus's moves are a pure reaction to whatever Jan comes up with. For the most part, I guess Bishop E3 is a move where Magnus does not have an obvious move. He has to think here whether he wants to play Bishop D5 or Knight F5 or something else here.
Right. So what would you do right here? Would you go Knight F5 or Bishop takes D5?
I mean, obviously, I'm blessed to have the computer helping me, so I know that Knight F5 is the best move. I mean, if I'm looking at this objectively, I don't know what I expect, because Bishop takes D5 has a lot of merit too, because this endgame after... Okay, so he plays Knight F5.
He gives back 1 pawn. Like, I guess you should take it, right? Because otherwise, why goes Bishop here, and then you're in auto... Okay, yeah. Magnus takes...
Again, I don't like somehow again, like I feel like Magnus is okay here. I think there's a decent chance Magnus could win this game even. Just because of the pawn structure, the weak pawns on g5 and f4 potentially.
The safer
again,
king
still
also
likes it, but so
wait, what he hung mate? Queen g5.
Queen g5. Oh my god. Oh my god.
Is Magnus gonna see it? Wait, let's look at the camera. I mean, wait, Magnus hasn't reacted just yet.
Well, it's because they're on a delay, right? Oh no.
Are they? Pause, champ.
Oh no.
Is he? I mean, it's a very unusual pattern, but it's made on the spot.
Let's show the mate. I don't think there's a delay. At least so far, when we were following your matches, the reactions always came pretty
I don't think
quickly.
he sees it.
Oh, Nepo sees it. Do you see Nepo's eyes just get big?
Oh,
Nepo sees it. Do you see Nepo's eyes? Yeah. Nepo's eyes just got really big. Yeah. Nepo saw
he's like, oh no.
Yeah, Nepo saw it, and now he's coming back down to so that Magnus can't see it in the cam. Nepo saw it. You saw Nepo's eyes get really big there for a second.
People are like, of course Magnus sees it, but usually with these things, it's like you see it right away or you don't see it. And he
misses it.
Mate.
Oh no.
We need to show the mate, I think.
But I don't really see it. Wait, and Nepo, he knows it. He knows that Magnus misses it, and he's laughing again.
Yeah. Yeah, no. I mean, his eyes got really big. Like, he saw it. Yeah, now he's shaking his head because, he saw it. He saw it. Yeah.
Wait, but now isn't white just better after, like, Queen F3 or Queen E1?
It's still very tricky. I mean, Queen F3, there's Rook G2.
He's just laughing at Magnus.
Yeah.
Let's go back maybe and just quickly show the mate for the viewers.
So take, check, and mate, and that's it. I mean, yeah. Insane. But Magnus, he might be thinking, like, why is Jan laughing? Like, what's so funny? And Hikaru, I just wanted to ask you, let's say you're Jan, right? How much?
Oh, now he saw it. Did you see Magnus? Now Magnus just saw it. Now he just saw it.
Well, I tell you why. Probably he sees like, okay, I can take the rook and some variations, and then I have this idea and with mate. But
yeah, now he just saw it. Yeah, now he just realized material.
Like when you realize you missed mate of 5. Like
no. He realized it. Yeah.
I think that's one of the biggest reactions we've ever seen from Magnus, just rolling away mid-game.
Yeah. No. He saw it. Yeah.
No,
he saw it. And now it's like inside he's just like dying. Like I know this feeling like very well. It's like when you miss a forced win, it's like it's very hard. It's just like you're just like, what are you doing? It's just like you just ruined the masterpiece. It's like, you know, you're painting the Mona Lisa and you just spill the canvas of oil all over the floor. And now we'll see how good Magnus's mental abilities are, because recovering from it is going to be very tough. Recovering from it is going to be very hard here.
Yeah, he must feel like, this game could have been over already, but he's truly exasperated right now. So, but what do you even do here? If you take the rook, you take here, and your knight is just trapped. So, I don't even see what you do. You can take the bishop, then white takes here, and you're just up the exchange.
Yeah, probably you have to take the bishop and the pawn. That's what I expect. He does it. Still, that being said, it's much easier for Magnus to play than Nepo to play here. Much easier.
Yeah, so you take the rook here.
Yeah, knight
Just
f4.
to go back for one moment to the missed opportunity with the mate, I feel like very often that happens in reverse. When Magnus, gives an opportunity, people tend to trust him. What do you think happened here? Do you think the mate was difficult to spot, or do you think Magnus also just kind of trusted?
I mean, I think the problem is Magnus. It was so unexpected, kind of. It's so unexpected that he just wasn't thinking about it. It was just that it was that unexpected. And so he didn't see it. I mean, I think it's something where you see it or you don't see it, basically. There's no in between. I think because the problem is actually also here, if you don't see it, knight e3 is the only other move. So because knight e3 is just screaming to be played, it's not obvious to spot queen takes g5.
Also, it's a very unusual pattern, right? With queen takes g5 and then check and mate. Like, I've never seen something like this.
Yeah, it's very unusual for sure. Very, very unusual.
That being said, I still like his chances here. Practically, he's only down in exchange, and White's king is still pretty weak. So what do we do here? Maybe like queen h4 to defend this and hit the knight, and there he goes.
Yeah, I mean, it's still very tricky, though. I still like Magnus's chances here, honestly, just because after like queen c7, for example, the pawns are still weak. And again, he's a good knight on f4, and a lot of his moves are going to be reactionary to whatever Nepo does. But you can tell that he's not happy because he did see it. He did see it.
There's
You know what
interesting...
happened? I don't know if Magnus looks at the cams closely, but I suspect that Magnus saw Nepo laughing, and so he realized something was wrong. But I'm sure
That's
he'll be
what I
asked.
was gonna ask.
Yeah, I was going to ask the same, yeah.
That's my guess. I think that basically he that probably he saw the cam, or it was Jan's deep think there after 93. He just felt that something was wrong. It's one of those two.
Yeah, because otherwise Jan would have had a response ready in case of 93.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I mean, I think that's what it is. Because as soon as I think Nepo thought for a bit after 93, right? He didn't move instantly. I think he used like 10 or 15. No, he actually used more.
Yeah, he used like a minute and a half for queen e1. Yeah, and that's when Magnus he threw up his hands and moved back. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, like you don't have to have the cam. You can just close it, obviously. But I think that Magnus either Jan's deep think there, or he did actually see Jan's cam out of the corner of his eye, and then he saw Jan laughing, and so he realized something was wrong. I don't know which one it is, but it's one of those two for sure.
And now Jan is shaking his head. He's probably thinking like, why did I not get this lucky in the World Championship?
Right, but to be fair, even having said that, it's still, I mean, Magnus has chances even here. I mean, he has very, very good chances to survive, if not maybe turn the game even, depending on the time situation.
I mean, it's been an absurd game, really, right? With Magnus kind of blundering the two pawns, and then, as you said, almost by coincidence, ended up getting some compensation, and then the missed mate. It's kind of an absurd game. So, do you feel it's difficult for the players to regain full focus here?
I mean, I think it's every move. It's basically move by move. I think every good move that Magnus finds is tough for Nepo. I think every good move that Nepo finds is tough for Magnus. Like in this situation. Queen c7, which is the top move, I think is a hard move to play. I think knight takes d3 is much more natural. So finding queen c7 would then put a lot of pressure back on Nepo, because if that's like queen c6 or queen b7. On the other hand, as I said, knight d3 is screaming to be played. So it's very tricky here. I feel like every move, the pressure or the pendulum will swing back and forth.
Right, so knight takes d3. What do we do? Like maybe bishop c3, move the bishop. Like maybe goes like bishop e5. It doesn't look too bad. A funny line, by the way, Hikaru, is in case of h6, I think we take, we sack, and then like rook g4, we take here, and we do the little windmill, and at the end, I guess we pick up the queen, right?
Yeah, that is true. Yes. Yeah, maybe something like that. Yeah.
So I think you take.
Should be winning, yeah, with like rook d7. Still, you're only up a pawn, and the pawns are on the... like h2 pawns on the diagonal, d3 is weak. Not easy. That might be a draw.
We have bishop f6. Should pick up another one. So it should be winning.
Okay. Yeah.
So let's see what Magnus is going to do. Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is a critical moment. Magnus, though, as you can tell, like he just looks kind of dead inside after what just happened. Yeah, now we get knight d3, bishop c3, which is what I kind of expected. And I think there's a very good chance that Nepo wins now, because Nepo will just play rook f3 and rook h3 or rook a d1. But
is this the biggest miss you've ever seen by Magnus?
I mean, in terms of just like a auto force checkmate, probably, since the game would just instantly be over. But I feel like I've seen tactics that he's missed before that have been pretty big. But the fact this one was just like a force checkmate is it probably takes the cake overall, just because it would have been GG on the spot, like no in between. And now it's probably going to go the other direction, very likely. Like, I think Magnus is probably going to lose this game.
Yeah. He's also already up on time. I mean, rook 81 is coming. It seems like this position is easy to play for Jan. I mean, what do you do here? Like bishop e5, maybe? But yeah, I'm sure Hikaru, Magnus must have blunder made on one time in his career, right?
You would think so. You would think so. That being said, looking at the position, it's still not easy. It's still not super easy for White to prove. Because the knight is going to go to c6 and d4. G5 is still a little bit weak. So, I mean, for a computer, it's just winning. But we'll see how good Nepo's technique is here.
Okay, one nice move. He's keeping up the pace and the pressure. So let's see. I mean, you can also go knight g6 to add a defender to your king. In case of knight c6, maybe you just go like for the rook lift. That looks pretty tough to deal with, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, I think you're right. If knight c6, something like rook f3 or rook e3 looks very hard to deal with. Knight g6, I mean, probably is better to keep the knight closer to the king, but still, queen g4 followed by h4, h5. It looks pretty dire for Magnus. It doesn't look good. And he does play knight g6. So we get queen g4. Yeah, I expect Nepo to win this game. The look on Magnus's face, sort of like, even as mentally strong as he is, like you can tell he's just sort of dead inside. He's just that disgusted by everything. He's not into it. You can tell from the look on his face. He's just like screw this. Like what even am I doing?
H4. Okay, it's a bit sloppy by Jan.
Still good. Yeah.
But yeah, no, so it was kind of funny. Like I played Anish over the summer in the Dutch Championship, and on move 13 he offers me a draw. So like the position is still very, very complicated. I'm not necessarily better or anything, and I'm playing with black. So I'd be happy to take it. But then I go to the arbiter, like, what are the rules? And he says, like, well, you cannot agree to a draw before move 40. And then it's like, yeah, I wish that, like, you kind of wish the game was already over, but you're still playing. So it's really annoying. And maybe something similar to Magnus. Like he feels like, oh, I could have already won this game, and now I'm playing this position where I'm just lost. And I had a friend of mine telling me a similar story where he played someone, he touched the knight, and he put it on a losing square, and he held it there for like a second or two, and then he was like, oh, that's actually a losing move. And he puts it somewhere else, which was the best move. And after that, he just could not focus because he felt like, oh, I could have won this game, but
wait a second, but Magnus is somehow back in the game. Wait, Nepo just hung c4.
Yeah,
wait, what?
What the heck?
Oh no, he just hung c4. Oh my gosh, what? Well,
what is it? This is really sloppy. Like, how do you miss this?
Okay, now we're getting the clown. Yeah, now Nepo's laughing for the other reason. Now he's laughing because like it's just like what is this game? It's going exactly.
He's like laughing at himself.
Like yeah. Now Nepo's laughing at himself instead of laughing at Magnus. Basically, he's just like laughing at himself for being such an idiot instead of laughing at Magnus for being the idiot.
This position we have on the board now, do you feel it's an equalish position or more like a 3-result game?
I mean, I feel like it should be a draw, but honestly, if you were to ask me who has chance, I would say black is the best chances just because the white king is a little bit weak here. If Magnus can somehow start pushing the c pawn up the board and go like queen g4, although I guess rook e2 is a good move because as long as you keep this knight boxed in on the king side, you should have pretty decent chances to at least draw. I think the problem is if you could put this knight like on f5, black would probably be winning, but the knight on f8 just is not on the right square here.
Yeah, it's also tough to get there because if you go here, I mean, there's always a check, and especially if you go to g7. So I would think, like, if anything, white is still pushing for the win, but I mean, the momentum has definitely been in Magnus's favor.
Yeah, I would say over the last few moves, it's definitely been more in Magnus's favor. I mean, I still expect it to be a draw, but again, if anybody can win here, I would expect it to be Magnus simply because of the placement of the kings. The king on g8 is much safer than the king on g2 here. So if anybody can win, I would expect it to be Magnus. That being said, I still think a draw is the most likely result.
Let me ask you, if either player loses here, do you think it will mentally just be too difficult to bounce back from?
Well, I mean, if Nepo loses here, yes, Nepo will collapse immediately. I will just say that. If Nepo loses this position, he will just collapse and lose the third game fast, I think. If it goes the other way, I mean, we'll see just how strong Magnus is mentally, because as I said earlier, he tends to rebound from losses better than anybody else. But again, against a player like Nepo, who is such great preparation with the black pieces specifically, with the Petrov and everything else, it would be tough. But it looks like Nepo has the right idea here with the queen on e5. Like maybe king g3, rook f2, maybe a computer move, goes queen e4 back.
We might be headed for a repetition. Yeah. Because I guess both players will just be happy to get this game over with.
Yeah, I'm going to try and figure out if c3 is a move here, but probably not. Because if rook c2, knight e6, there's probably... I don't know. What is this, actually? I'm wondering about c3 here. And I think Magnus is going to use a bit of time and see if he can make it work. That's what I expect.
I guess he must... I guess queen c7.
He's just going to make the draw. He's that disgusted with everything. Yeah, I think both players are just disgusted. So it's not shocking. Yeah, Magnus, are we gonna get a reaction? He's gonna be looking at the game here, I bet. He's gonna see it in a second.
Yeah, and we saw Nepo, he did the thing, and like Magnus does the same thing. Like
Magnus
what
did
is
what I do there. Yes, Magnus did exactly what I do when it's like pure slop and I'm disgusted. And he's not the only one who's done that, by the way. He just did the whole like I've done that a few times. I might have even done that today. I don't know, but he did that where it's just like the sheer disgust. Another person who did that recently, I think, was Kramnik after one of the online games where he drew. He drew.
He got flagged. He got flagged in RCC. Like he did like this. Yeah.
Yeah, but I know there was a game recently where he did the same thing where he also did the whole thing like just forget about it. It's just pure garbage. I don't want to even look at it. So yeah, I mean, nobody is very happy. That is for sure. But that was pretty amusing. That was pretty funny.
Yeah. So let's have a look what's happening. So we have a very exciting draw between Shahriar Marmajarov and MVL. A lot less entertaining than the game we just witnessed.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think this is one of the most absurd games that I've ever seen live. So the players now have 10 minutes to do a mental reset before the next one. I think unless Hikaru does something you want to do, we're going to go on another quick break.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so we'll be back in like 5 or 6 minutes, you guys. So stick around.
Welcome back, everyone. We are watching the Champions Chess Tour. Hikaru, we're gearing up for game number 3. What do you expect from Magnus with the white pieces?
Yeah, so it's going to be a very interesting situation based on the way the match is trended. Obviously, in game 1, Magnus was winning in the end game against Jan. That petered out to a draw. Game 2, Magnus probably also should have won, but then he also should have lost. So I'm guessing we'll probably get more of the same. I expect Magnus to play one of the different end games in the Petrov if I were to guess, but that's kind of what I expect. Is maybe not the exact same line as the previous game, but something along those lines with an end game where Magnus can sort of try to just keep the game going forever.
Right, maybe like that 93-4 line that you also play. Like I think he used that in the World Championship as well, right?
Something like that, perhaps. Not sure exactly what will happen, but I would guess something along those lines. So the game should be starting, though, pretty soon.
If you look at the cameras, who do you... I mean, we can't see too much now, but how does Magnus look to you?
Magnus, I think, has the look of like, why am I wasting my time playing this silly event? That's the look that I read it as. But okay, we're going to get a very heavy main line here. Okay, we're going to get one of the heavy main lines.
Yeah, so let's see it. We had this in the World Championship, Rook E1, Bishop F5. Now, I think here you're trading a Queen D7. And I guess we'll just have to wait and see what Magnus has cooked up.
I believe that Jan had this in the first round of the World Cup, if I'm not mistaken, against one of the Azeri guys, if I'm not wrong, or something very, very similar to this. So let's see what we get here. But I'm pretty sure this is pretty standard theory. Now, Jan is looking away. I don't know if Jan's looking out because maybe that's the window outside, right?
Yeah, so he's looking
I'm wondering if there's
to the
like
streets of Amsterdam.
Yeah, I'm wondering if there's like loud noise nearby, or if he's just like deep in thought about the correct move here. I can't really tell.
It's like I'm trying to play chess here, you know? But I think here you just trade, you take on C4, 97. This is supposed to be really solid. And the thing I don't like, Hikaru, is that already 2 pairs of minor pieces have been traded off. In the last game, I like Magnus' opening choice a lot better, as he only traded off the queens. He gets into an endgame, which he loves. And he also keeps all of the other minor pieces and the rooks on the board.
Yeah, I tend to agree with you. What I would say on the flip side is this is the Petrov at the end of the day. There are only so many ideas that you can come up with. It is by far and away the most solid opening if you know it by heart. Fabiano played against Magnus in the World Championship. Nepo played it. I mean, many other top players play it these days. So it's hard to just come up with ideas on the fly. And certainly, like this match, Magnus, he isn't studying chess every day. And even if he were, it's still very hard to come up with ideas against the Petrov anyway. So it's not too surprising me that this is what he chose. But the question is, what is his idea within this to sort of create something dry with maybe a slight pull? And we're not really sure. Because I think Knight D7 should be played. I'm a little bit surprised that Nepo is thinking right now, because I'm almost certain that Knight D7 is just maybe not the only move, but by far and away the best move. I mean, maybe there's Queen A5, but I don't think that's right in this system.
I think 97 is sort of the theory. Like it's like I said, it's a normal move. You just develop your piece to a nice and central square. So I'm also somewhat surprised that he didn't play yet, as normally he would have like 15.5 minutes here, just like Magnus.
Right. Yeah. I mean, that's the thing. Like, again, I think I'm trying to remember what the game is. I feel like I might have had a game in this against Aroni with Bishop G5, Queen A5 here. like ages ago. I could be wrong on that, but I'm going to see if I can find that. Because I feel like there was there was some kind of Petrov game that we had many moons ago. I think in 2020, if I'm not mistaken. But anyway, back to the game. We got Queen B3 played here. I mean, maybe someone in chat could tell me, but I'm pretty sure I had Bishop G5, Queen A5 or something very similar in the original edition and way back in 2020 against Aronin. So we have Queen B3 here. Let's see. I assume Nepo will play Queen C7. I think pretty sure that this is very straightforward theory still, and we get it.
Yeah, and judging from the player cameras, how do you feel like both players are feeling?
I would guess that just looking at the cams, I mean, I think both players are kind of disgusted, honestly. I don't think either player is super happy with what's gone on. Magnus looks kind of bored here. Nepo, I mean, looks like Nepo. I would say there's nothing really out of the ordinary here. Not a whole lot of expression at the moment, but I think Magnus is just a little bit dead inside. He just, I think, is kind of like disgusted with what's going on right now.
Magnus has been blitzing out all his moves so far. You were saying this is still theoretical terrain. Can you tell a bit about what White's plans are going to be here?
Yeah, so I assume White's plans here to play something like Bishop B2 or maybe Bishop E3, maybe Knight H4 down the road since you have played G3 and it will support the knight jump. So I do think Knight H4 is an idea as well. I kind of feel like Bishop B2, C5, D5, some sort of structure with a long diagonal makes the most sense here for White. But he'll either go to B2 or E3 with the bishop here, I assume. Maybe Bishop A3 is a move, but I don't know why you want to trade off more pieces.
Yeah, and then, so let's say Magnus plays a move like Bishop B2. What do you expect from Jan? Maybe like Knight F6 and trade of the rooks, or what do you think he's going to do in the next couple of moves?
So I assume he should play Knight F6 or maybe C5. I mean, C5, D5 is a little bit double-edged because White gets his protected pass pawn in the center of the board, even though it is blockaded. I think Magnus would be very happy to get the structure with the protected pawn. It's very reminiscent of a game that I had against him in the Speed Chess Championship out of the Petrosian system. So I think Magnus would be very happy to get that. So I'm kind of wondering if Nepo isn't supposed to wait somehow, like Bishop F8 maybe, or Knight F8. I guess Knight F8 might allow some C5 trick. But I feel like he's probably supposed to wait and not play C5 here is my guess.
Yeah, maybe just like Rook 88, and I feel like it's going to be a slow game. Maybe Magnus will play a move like King G2, slowly but surely improve. He goes Bishop F8 instead. Perhaps he's aiming even to go for something like G6 and Bishop G7. Do you think that could be an idea?
Down the road, yeah. And I think Magnus here is trying to maybe play A5 here, try to soften the pawns on the queen side, maybe open up the A file. And of course, if C5, D5, then A5 has a lot more venom to it because Black really will struggle to keep the pawn structure intact without giving up some sort of positional disadvantage or advantage, I should say.
Yeah, we see A6 by Jan. I'm somewhat surprised by that move. It softens up all of the pawns. I felt like A5 wasn't the threat just yet, because maybe you can even take it.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what A6 really does other than create a weakness. I don't understand A6. I'm actually a little bit puzzled. Also, I don't like the fact that Jan is moving what I perceive to be way too quickly. That's never a good sign. When Jan is moving fast, that's never a good sign. Although Magnus is up a lot of time, that being said.
Well, I suppose he wants to meet A5 with B5. I think that's the idea behind A6.
Right, I guess, but I mean, also long term, the pawn on B6 is a weakness here. Like it is just a weakness. So unless you can go B5, but I don't like Rook E8. Okay.
Magnus rerouting his bishop. I like it. So you're gonna have to go Bishop D6, but it feels slightly uncomfortable. Then maybe your idea of Knight H4 to F5 can come in. Rook B8, I like I think a nice move. As Bishop 4, I think the threat is stronger than the execution because Bishop D6 and Black's just fine.
Yeah, and also after Rook B8, you're threatening to maybe go B5 somewhere pretty soon as well. So I do like Rook B8 from Jan. I do like it quite a bit.
Do you think it makes sense that we're seeing a more quiet game here after all the adventures from game 2?
Well, I think from Magnus' standpoint, he's just looking for a small advantage. Doesn't matter white or black. I think every single game, that's his generally his goal. So I'm not too surprised that we have this, especially considering that Jan plays the Petrov pretty much every game these days. So It makes sense that we have this. I think again, it's a very critical moment though, because if Magnus is not able to punch through and win this game, I feel like the fourth game we will have more fireworks. I don't expect it to be a quiet game. So this is a very 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 critical moment here. Also because I feel like in the next couple of moves, Magnus is either going to get some sort of positional pull where he can squeeze forever, or it's just going to peter out to a draw very very quickly. So I think the next like 5-6 moves are going to be very very critical for both sides.
Right. And you think if this game ends in a draw, you don't think there's a chance that Jan is just going to try to force an Armageddon?
I mean, he could try to do that. I don't really know what his plan will be.
Or do you think Magnus will not allow it?
Well, also, yeah. I mean, it depends if Magnus plays E4 C5 or E4 E5. If Magnus plays E4 E5, there are a lot of opportunities to try and, maybe not force the game, but send it in the direction of a quick draw. So we get Queen C2 here. I guess the idea is to stop B5, but nonetheless, yeah. I think I think that here C5, D5, B5 might be good. I think that makes sense. C5, D5, B5, and just everything's coming off. All the pawns are being exchanged here, and I assume this is just an easy draw for black. Mind you, it is Magnus, so there's no guarantee, because they'll still be looking for ways to keep the game going. But I think C5, D5, B5, just looking at it optically, it feels very much like it should be killing the game. And actually, computer likes it too. Computer likes B5 as well. So we'll see if we get it.
Maybe we can quickly put that line on the board as Jan is thinking.
Right, so what do we do here? I mean, I assume so let's say we take twice, black just takes. Okay, yes, looks completely fine for black.
But he played rook E instead.
Rook E8, okay. It feels like he's drifting a little bit. Maybe now like rook B1, keep an eye on the pawn and make it difficult for black to break with B5.
Yeah, I'm starting to get this feeling that Jan is going to lose this game if Magnus finds rook B1 here, because it feels like the pawns are a little bit weak here on the queen side, like maybe more than a little bit weak. It actually to me looks very very unpleasant. I'm not really sure what you're supposed to do if you're black, and I expect Magnus to find rook B1 here. I'd be very surprised if he doesn't play rook B1.
Another interesting idea, Hikaru, is maybe to move A5, as that would soften up. Like you can go B5, but you take and force black to recapture the pawn, and then all of a sudden white has a passed A pawn.
True, exactly. That is a good point as well. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what we're gonna get here, but I have a feeling if Magnus plays rook B1, Nepo's gonna have this very weak pawn on B6 for the rest of the game, and it's gonna be difficult to save this against a great technician like Magnus.
Magnus,
in fact, I don't think he will save it.
Yeah, even from the body language, if we look at his camera, he looked so disinterested earlier. I feel like this is the most focused and the most interested we've seen him looking.
Yeah, actually, that's true. Like whenever the players generally lean in, there's a reason. Either there's like something interesting they see, or they feel like something is off for the most part. And you're right. Magnus is leaning in here. I think it's because he can sense that rook E8 is not the move he was expecting, and so his spider senses is just sort of he can sense that there's something wrong with this move, and so he's looking to try and figure out what the best move is, because he's looking very focused here. Because I'm sure that he thought rook E8 was not the right move, and so he feels like there's probably something in the.
Yeah, I'm really surprised by Giannis. Rook actually just came from E8, so he just went rook B8 and rook back, and here we see A5 by Magnus. So
move, yeah.
Is taking even a possibility, or does white just play C5, cut off the bishop, and go bishop D2 next, and this just looks bad, I guess, yeah? And Giannis already played B5.
I mean, this is going to get really, 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 really sharp, actually. Yeah, now it's going to get sharp because you have the passed A pawn.
Okay, let's see. Yeah, Magnus, he is really perspicacious. Like, he always spots these opportunities. So I guess now bishop D6.
Yeah, I mean, but after bishop D6 trade, how are you pushing the A pawn through? Because A6, rook A8, I feel like the pawn is kind of not going anywhere. Your knight doesn't have the right squares like on E5 either.
Yeah. To trade, maybe push.
Push or go rook C1 maybe. But rook C1, rook C8 doesn't really do anything.
Or rook A8 maybe. I think he would like to get rook C1, rook C8, and then A6, but I think maybe rook A8.
Yeah, actually, I think that's what we're going to get. I think we'll get rook C1, rook A8, and we'll get maybe this endgame, and Magnus will try to squeeze it somehow, or not. He goes A6, never mind. Rook A8. And now it's the classic show me the money moment. Either Magnus has something here and he's going to prove a big advantage, or Nepo is going to draw the game, I think, very, very soon.
Yeah, so queen c7 here looks like the most natural move.
But then d5, I think, maybe. I don't know. I mean, again, like I said, this is the big moment. Yeah.
But it looks scary because there's even d6 and queen e4, but I guess knight
d6.
Okay, 6, queen d5.
Yeah, like I said, I mean, I think this is the critical moment here because basically the big question, if Nepo can somehow trade the B pawn, like let's say queen c7, queen a2, I don't know, b4, queen a4, b3, for example, if you can somehow trade the A for the B pawn, you should have very good drawing chances. But at the same time, you can't move the knight either because like your knight has to stop the white knight from going to e5. So it's a really, really critical moment here.
Jan is thinking, yeah, to me, queen c7 looks the most natural. And I don't, yeah, okay, so he goes for it. Okay, so let's have a look. So let's say we go d5, right? c5, we were thinking, I guess the line with d6, maybe d6 even like queen b7 as you pin the knight.
Right, that makes a lot of sense. Yes.
And yeah, queen e2, there's knight e5, and you, yeah, that looks fine for black. Okay, rook a6.
Well, it's so a very tricky. Logical move, yeah.
So maybe you push?
The c5, queen e4 looks dangerous. Rook a7, rook c6, queen d8. Maybe this is okay, but it feels tricky. It feels quite tricky here.
Do you feel Magnus might run the risk of being worse if Jan manages to push those pawns?
I don't really see that happening unless somehow you can get a c5, d5 structure where you have the two connected pawns rushing up the board. That's the only way that I can see it happening. But here, Jan actually is in great shape because he has nearly 9 minutes. If he had like 3 minutes here, I think there's a good chance Magnus could probably trick him and win this in the end game. But I feel like with nearly 9 minutes, Jan should be able to calculate these lines with c5 here, and probably he should be able to draw this game.
Right, yeah. I think it just depends on like whether Magnus is going to take any risk. Like after c5, like I said, if he goes d5, okay, I guess if they're d5, you just lose a pawn. But it's still probably pretty risk-free right now and probably headed towards a draw. But if Magnus somehow takes a risky decision, then things could get out of control. But yeah, for now, I think Jan still has to be careful.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think the next couple of moves will be very, very critical. I think it'll either be drawn, on the spot, or Nepo will probably lose in a long, grindy endgame. That's my prediction here.
So
but I guess you're not. So, yeah, I guess.
Oh yeah, sorry. Go ahead.
You were saying that the game might end in a draw in the next few moves, but we are not seeing a way right now for black.
Well, I assume c5, queen e4, rook a7, rook c6, queen d8 is probably the simplest way to kind of like kill the game, but that's the simplest way. But I mean, as long as Jan finds the thing for Jan here is that c5 is not a hard move to play. Because rook takes a7, rook c6 just optically looks horrible because white will have rook c8 check and you can't move the king. That might just actually be winning on the spot because I think if you show it on the board after...
Wait, sorry, which
move? Instead of c5, rook takes a7, rook c6.
Yeah.
Like queen b7, rook c8, knight f8, queen c5 should just be winning on the spot. So once you realize that's just winning... Oh, I guess you could do this.
Knight f8, okay.
So wait, he played knight f8? Wait, what?
It looks a little bit passive. I mean, queen c... I don't know. I'm not a big fan of this one. Why not c5?
Queen c5? Because of knight e6, you can play rook c6. Knight f8 is a very bad move. Actually, wait, is queen c5 just winning for white?
I mean, you can go down the line. I mean, there's still knight e6 takes and queen b7, but you go like queen b6, and at the very least, you're going to be down a pawn here, and this is not a lot of fun.
Yeah, no, this is very unpleasant. Very, very unpleasant. No, knight f8 is very, very, very passive. I don't understand that move at all. It's a very strange move to me. Very, very strange move. I mean, maybe you know what? Maybe Nepo actually saw the boogeyman. Maybe he thought after c5 there's just d takes c5, maybe, because queen c5 would be bad. Although knight takes c5 just hits the pawn on a7. So I don't know what Nepo saw, but I think he must have seen the boogeyman in terms of playing knight f8. It's just not the move that you want to play at all. It just is not the move you want to play.
Yeah, so let's see how Magnus is going to try to punish him. Queen c5 does look very tempting, right? Because, I mean, queen c6 you take and take here. Maybe white is better, but it feels like black should be able to draw there. But, I mean, I'd be tempted to go queen c5. I mean, also knight e5 is an idea, and it looks pretty forced, those lines, right?
Yeah, I think after queen c5, knight e6 is forced, rook c6 is forced, and then, I mean, queen b7, queen b6, you're at least going to be up to d4 pawn. So to me, it looks very, 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 very forcing here.
Wait, so let's have a look. So in case...
And he played it, by the way. He played it, obviously.
Oh, Hikaru, do you think there's a chance he missed this? So like queen c5, let's go down this variation. So queen c5, if you go knight e6, if black takes over here, you give a check. And you give this check first.
8, right? Yeah.
And now you take, exactly. And now you take here, and black loses. Maybe it's something like this that he missed, like the exact sequence of moves.
Yeah, I mean, I think he must have, because knight f8 was just so passive. I mean, also it just felt fundamentally wrong because it yielded the e5 square. Because if white can ever get the knight in, white has great chances to win the game. So it felt wrong, just like intuitively, because you're just going passive for no reason. So I am really surprised that Nepo played knight f8. It just seems odd. He still could probably save this game, but I don't think he's going to save it at this point now. I think it's very unlikely.
I guess also practically, I mean, you're down 2.5 minutes on the clock. You're worse against Magnus. I mean, usually you're a big favorite to lose there.
Yeah, big favorite to lose. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I think certainly they're great. If Magnus can get this endgame with the 4v3 and have a time advantage on the clock, like he gives up the... Yeah, we got knight e6, so we're going to get rook takes c6, of course. I mean, it's still, I still do think this is a draw with perfect play, to be clear, in this endgame after rook c6 and queen b7. But will Jan be able to draw it? That's the big question.
So how would you go about holding this? So rook c6, queen b7, I guess queen b6, and then what do you do? Like maybe you just take here. Yeah, let's have a look. So let's say takes here, rook a7. I guess it's just unpleasant because your knight doesn't have...
Like...
Yeah, you might have to go like back, but it's... Or like... Nah, it's...
No, I think you're going to end up in an endgame down a pawn, and you're going to have to like you're going to have to try to you're going to be down a pawn. You're going to have to try to somehow grovel, and you're going to be down on the clock too. So I think it's very unlikely. I think it's going to be very hard for Nepo to draw this game, specifically because of the time situation.
What do you think the boogeyman is that Nepo saw when he played knight e8? Knight f8?
I mean, the only thing I think is maybe he thought there was like queen e4 and queen e8, or there's some like queen e8, knight g5, or like maybe he thought, actually, you know what I think he probably saw was queen e4, rook takes a7, queen e8, and he thought king h7, there was probably some way to win, like rook a7 and queen f7, something like that. Or maybe he saw... I mean, I don't know what he saw. Or maybe he thought there was like rook a7, queen e8, knight f8, rook c6, or there's something that he thought was going to be very dangerous. That's my guess. I don't know what it was, but there was something along those lines. So, okay, we get rook c6, queen b7.
All right, so now Magnus is going to have to move his queen. So, Hikaru, does queen b6 look like the most natural move to you?
It looks like the only move, actually. I mean, there's no other move that makes any sense here. That's the problem. I mean, literally no other move. I mean, what else can you play? Queen d5, rook a7, queen d6, rook a7, rook b6, knight c5. I mean, it's literally the only move. So, yikes. Yeah, this is going to be scary. It's going to be very nervy here for Nepo, whether he can survive this endgame or not.
Yeah, and I think it's also going to be critical for the match. I think if he loses this game, it's probably going to be tough for him to come back. But, you know, with a draw, it's still anyone's match.
Exactly. Yes, exactly. So, I mean, I think there's a very, very, very good chance here, I think, of Magnus winning this game and winning the match.
Would you say right now Magnus winning is the favorite? Where is it? Like, would you predict Magnus winning from here?
I would agree with that, but the thing is, Magnus is burning a lot of his clock here. He's spending a lot of time here thinking. I mean, maybe Magnus is trying to see if queen c2 is a move here, because queen c2 makes some sense as well.
Right, like covering this
c8, yeah. And maybe rook a7, d5, knight f8, d6, or something like that. So I think there's some chance that Magnus is actually calculating those lines as well.
So after queen c2, what does black do? Maybe just queen a7?
Yeah, and then d5.
d5, move the knight to...
f8, maybe? I mean, it's... To me, the reason I wouldn't go for this, the reason I would go for the other line is because even if the computer likes this for white, it doesn't seem obvious in terms of what to do. Whereas the other one, you just have the extra pawn. It should be much more straightforward in terms of how to play.
All right. Okay, Hikaru, someone just subscribed.
Yeah, thank you to Lighten for the resub. So we get queen b6 as expected, yeah.
Rook a7 instantly by Nepo, so now d5. And now, what do you do with this knight? There's not really a good square.
I mean, I think probably you should trade and then go knight c5, rook b5, knight d7, and just try to save it. I don't know how savable it is.
There's knight f8, but it's a bit passive. I mean, maybe queen c5 now, rook c8.
Yeah, I mean, I think you have to just, if you're Nepo here, you're just going to have to jettison a pawn. Oh, wait, he played knight f8? Oh, wow, okay. That I did not expect.
So what does he have in mind after queen c5? Like,
must be rook a8, only move.
Yeah. So like 97, I guess there's a check. There might also be a check here. And queen c5, of course, Magnus finds it.
Mm-hmm. As expected.
Yeah, this looks tough. I mean, I guess rook a8, but rook c7.
I mean, I think Magnus is going to win here. I'm feeling like he's going to win because he's a safer king. The pawn on b5 is weak. Easier play with the passed pawn. It feels much easier to play for white here. So I think there's a very high chance that Magnus wins in this position. Very, very likely.
After rook a8, you're talking about rook c7. Is rook b6 also a move? Can we just try and go after the pawn, or?
Yeah, I think rook b6 also is completely fine. And then and the point is black at some point will end up in this endgame after like knight d7, rook b7, knight c5, rook b5, where white has an extra pawn. Can black draw it or not? I mean, the computer would draw it easily. For us humans, I don't think it's so realistic. But that's the big question. The big question mark here.
Yeah, no, I think rook b6 is sort of the safer approach. Like, you guarantee an extra pawn. The question is, like I said, whether you can win it. Rook c7, I think, is more ambitious, so to speak, because you're going for the kill in the
boom goes
middle
the
game.
You get a big blunder. That's game, isn't it?
Knight d7.
It's losing for some reason, but
wait,
why?
check. So let's see. So check here.
Check
G6,
here. Queen c3, f6, and where's the blow?
But you're completely tied up. You cannot move.
D6 is the winning move there. And that's not so obvious, actually. But
before queen c7, yeah, like, I don't know, to me, that doesn't seem that intuitive.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's not super obvious, but Magnus does have 4 minutes. And one thing I've also said about Magnus, he's very good at sensing the moments when you need to use the time. Obviously, last time he missed the mate in one, but you'll probably see here, I bet he's not going to make this move for another minute. Like, I expect him to use his time here and try to work out what the correct line is, because I think he can sense that there's something wrong with this move.
Yeah, well, to be fair, rook c8 seems like a very tempting start, right? And queen c2 right after as well, g6. Queen c3 looks pretty tempting after that, but after knight f6, it feels wrong, though, for black, right? I mean, your knight is pinned. It cannot go anywhere. You're not doing anything for the moment with these pieces. But to realize that after d6, you're just crushing, I don't know how easy it is, but we're going down that line, Hikaru.
Okay, so he plays it. So what he did was he did the opposite approach. He spent like 30 seconds, and now after knight f6, we're going to see if he finds the win. Yeah.
That being said, yeah, d6... Yeah, nice find there by Magnus. And I guess there's just nothing you can do with black. Like rook c7 is a big threat.
Because queen c7 b3, you get mated on the back rank. There's queen d8, right? Yeah, you just get mated. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, I guess queen... Yeah, this is just a big threat.
Beautiful. Yeah, queen c7 is absolutely beautiful here.
And another problem... Sure. Yeah, and another problem is that this is also a threat, taking rook c7.
Right. Yeah, no, it's GG on the spot after queen c7.
So the last move here for Magnus to find queen c7 will be lights out. It's on the board.
Not surprising at all. Very, very easy move to find once you've gotten to this point.
And you think there's no coming back for Nepo? I mean, not in this game, but in the match.
I mean, I think it's going to be very hard. So if we look at this match objectively, even though Nepo had winning chance in the previous game, you look at this match, I mean, Magnus very easily could have won the first 3 games. I mean, he was definitely winning in game 1. Nepo got that very, very, very lucky draw. Game 2, Magnus missed the mate in 3 or mate in 5 or whatever it was. And now Magnus is dominating this game. So, I mean, realistically, this match could already be over. Now, Nepo's been in trouble in every single game. Big trouble.
Right. So what do you make of that? Do you think also Nepo is playing a little bit below his level?
I mean, I think obviously for Nepo, there's a lot of psychology involved because they did play the World Championship match. So it's not so easy for him to just like forget about that. I guess you could say there's a lot of history there. But I think even besides that, yeah, probably for Nepo, it's definitely late at night. I mean, I guess it's late for both of them. But after playing a whole day of chess, try and play Magnus, I think you're gonna suffer a little bit. The quality will dip.
Yeah, and we see Jan just coming to terms, I think, with the fact that there is no defense here. There's nothing he can do. He's either going to get mated on the back rank or that pawn is going to be unstoppable very soon. And yeah, there's the head shake. Yeah, I think he's not gonna have it in him. I'd love to see Jan prove me wrong. Actually, let's talk a little bit. You mentioned Hikaru, you know, he played these 2 matches, 2 World
Championship
matches.
You see Nepo's look there. It's just like he thought. Now he suddenly realizes how bad it is. It took him a second to realize how bad it is. If you saw the way that he looked, the facial reaction changed. It was like he thought it was bad, but then suddenly he just realized it's actually really bad. So now he's shaking his head. Yeah, now he's like, what happened? Suddenly he realizes it's losing just now. You can see just the way that he's looking. You can see he suddenly realized that it's lost.
Yeah, he's trying really hard now to find a way out of it, but it's just a little too late. I mean, it feels like White's just crushing here with Queen E8 coming. And yeah, how do you think he's going to try to come back in game number 4? Okay, goes G5. I think the best try, because after Queen E8, it would not threaten mate. And I think after G4, Black is just winning maybe.
Right.
But Magnus can trade, go Rook C7. And I guess a good thing, if in case you take, there's still King G6, so it's not over just yet.
Right. That's true. That's true. Not completely over. But actually, Fiona, you had a question. You were going to ask me something?
Yeah, I was just going to ask, since I thought this game was going to end quite quickly, Nepo had one traumatizing loss against Magnus, which was one-way traffic, and then arguably the match against Ding was even tougher. Next year, he's already in the candidates as the loser of the match. Do you think Jan has it in him to bounce back from those 2 matches in terms of classical chess?
Yeah, I mean, it'll be pretty remarkable if he can. I mean, he's won the candidates 2 times in a row. If he can win a 3rd time in a row, that would just be incredible. By the way, Magnus, again, just unbelievable.
There's a very pretty win here. You go here, knight G4. And after all of this, your king gets checkmated.
Oh, he got mated on H4. Yes, that's right. Oh, man.
Classic puzzle rush.
Yep.
And he's already executed it.
Yeah. I mean, this is just Magnus is just too good at endgames. No surprise there. Yeah, just rough. Yeah. Very rough.
It's just over. You're either losing a piece or you're getting checkmated. So Magnus game number 3. And I like Nepo's opening approach in game number 2. I think he's going to stick with 1e4. And Hikaru, do you think Magnus is going to switch it up and play e5 since he only needs to draw?
Based on the fact that Magnus is playing fairly poorly, I mean, this game he's played great. But based on just like yesterday and the fact that there have been some really questionable moments, I would say in this first in the first couple of games here today. Like this game he's played brilliantly, but like the first 2 games have been a little bit shaky. I think he's going to play e5 and just try to be rock solid. I think he's going to be rock solid is my guess. In the 4th game. That's what I expect.
Yeah, and the result is in the books. Just to point out, everybody, in case Nepo had played G4, there's Rook F5 deflecting the Rook, as here you get another queen. All right, so Magnus takes game number 3. So yeah, you think Magnus is going to play rock solid with E5, and then do you expect the Italian from Jan, or what do you expect?
I would expect the Spanish. That's my guess. Or if not a Spanish, I would expect something like C4 on move 1. I think there's a good chance we could get C4 on move 1 as well. That's what I would say.
The other game is still going, so maybe we have a chance to check in there with MVL and Mamedyarov.
Wow, what's going on here?
Yeah, this is pretty wild. I mean, I have no idea what's going on. That's the simple answer. White has what? White has a bishop and a knight for a rook, but White's king is open, Black's king is open. Probably, I guess it's winning for White just because there's like knight c6 or queen c3, queen a5. I mean, I assume this is winning for Maxime, unless somehow Black can stir up some tricks around like the king side.
Yeah, I think it's likely to do so. I mean, now you mean likely win for White.
Or sorry, likely win for White. Sorry, yeah. But yes, I think likely win for White here. Computer likes queen e1. I think queen c3 also makes a lot of sense to go for queen a5. I mean, as long as you're not getting mated on the f file here, I think Maxime is going to win. Time situation also fine. Knight e6, a great move too. Rook f7. I assume just queen d4, although queen d4 maybe allows c5. So maybe like queen e1 and queen a5. But this should be winning practically. Practically, it should be winning.
Yeah, like, yeah. It looks nasty for black, even if there is a defense.
Yeah. Yeah, I assume it's too hard to defend. That's my guess. That's what I would guess. I think it's too hard to defend.
But do you think it's one of these positions where for the viewers, the eval bar says +3? Do you think that's a little bit misleading in that the win is not as easy as the evaluation would indicate?
I mean, I guess that's true. Bishop e4 is apparently wrong. I don't know why exactly, but I feel like it's actually the exact opposite. I think it's too easy for white to play, and it's too hard for black to play, because white can always go h3 to kick the knight from g4. You have queen e4, queen a7. I think it's just too hard for black to play.
Yeah,
you always have h3, always, if you need it.
Yeah, I think like even if, let's say, it would say like zeros, you would rather have white here, because black's king is quite open over here. So maybe, yeah, I like the Ziti queen e1 to a5. And yeah, for black, the only idea you have is setting up some sort of knight f2 tricks, but I don't see the way to do it, because you can get a rook to the g file.
Yeah, I mean, I think after like queen c3 or queen e1, I mean, even maybe like h3 here, I just don't see it. Because basically, you can't stack the rooks on the f or the g file, because the knight covers the f8 and g7 squares. There's queen a5 incoming, queen a7. I like queen a7 though, because now there's an idea of maybe c4 to go knight f2 down the road. But all in all, I mean, Maxime should convert this. And Maxime
down
also
to a minute though,
player.
and I like what Shaq is doing. I mean, queen takes c2 is a threat, queen e2. Okay, maybe now c4. They move that you mentioned, setting up some knight c4, and also you guard this.
This is actually, I don't know, after c4, I feel like this is getting a little bit spicy again, somehow.
Yeah.
So if you play h3, there might be some knight e3 tricks too, maybe. Maybe not, but... Yeah, he goes c4,
h3.
We get h3, as expected.
So, what happens after knight e3? Or...
Yeah,
what do you do?
It's still tricky.
Maybe you just move the rook, yeah, and the knight's sort of loose there.
Yeah. Yeah, it's still quite tricky. Still very hard to judge. Yeah, he plays knight e3, that's what I expected. Yeah.
f2. Maybe he should have gone to e1 to just hit the knight, but okay, let's see what Shaq is going to do here.
Oh, there's rook takes f4 here or something?
Okay, and what if I recapture?
Queen d4 or something. I mean, this is still winning. This is still winning for Maxime, but I feel like this is starting to drift in a direction that you don't want. Although rook g2 is a good move. Rook g2 is a good move.
Yeah, I felt like maybe after rook f2, Shaq had some sort of opportunity, but now it feels like white should be in control. After the straight queen g8 is a big threat, and I mean, knight e7 is a sad move to make.
Yeah, but what's your next move after queen g2, knight e7? That's the problem. What's your next move? Also, apparently bishop g2 is better, but I would expect queen g2. Although Maxime is thinking here, so he might take with the bishop, and he does.
Yeah, I guess just going after this pawn. I mean, white's king is looking pretty safe over here. The bishops are covering a lot of squares. The knight in e6 is an absolute beast. I mean, it's defending this bishop, also creating some threats to the black king.
He's going to win now because it's all one-way traffic. All the moves are too easy. White just reacts to blacks. When you play h4, there's queen h5 or queen g4. If you don't guard the pawn, I snap the pawn on h5, and so all of Maxime's moves take 1 second, and Shakrar's moves are all going to take like 5 or 10 seconds. And on top of that, it is just winning for white. So no, this is going to fall apart very quickly. It's just too hard to defend. In fact, I don't think a computer would defend this even against a human with the black pieces here. Yeah, now you have queen h5 or queen g4. Both are good. Yep.
So what do you think Shaq is going to do to try to come back in the next game in case he loses?
I love that the best move here is king to b7. I love that king to b7 is the best move, and no human would play it because of the fork, unless you accidentally miss the fork.
Yeah. Okay, queen e7, more... Yeah, but still... Oh, no, but queen f7, it's game over.
Yeah.
It just go down 2 pieces.
Yeah.
And MVL's not going to miss that.
No chance. Yeah, no chance.
Yep.
Yeah.
Nice move to end the game. Mamedyarov, who was one of the other players playing in the Levetov week in Amsterdam. So I think for him and Nepo, there must be a lot of tiredness. It's almost 10 p.m. here in Europe. Both of them will have to bounce back in the last game. Both of them will be playing with the white pieces at least. So I guess we'll see if either of them can mount a comeback. Otherwise, they go down to the losers bracket.
Exactly. Yep.
All right. So I think Hikaru. I was just about to say that, but I'll let you announce it. So go ahead, Hikaru.
All right. So we're going to take our final break, I think, of the day before the final round is coming up. So we will all be back in about 5 to 6 minutes. So we'll see you guys then. Enjoy the show.
And welcome back, everyone. We are looking at game number 4, which might be the last game of today, Hikaru. What do you think Jan is going to do to strike back in this match?
Yeah, so I think when we look at game number 4, I expect Jan to play e4. Whether Magnus plays e5 or c5 is the big question mark. But I assume Jan will try to play something more aggressive. Probably not the King's Gambit, because last time he did that against Magnus, he lost in like 10 moves. But he's gonna go for something much more aggressive. Like we get the Sicilian here, and we're gonna get a knight. Jan is not gonna play bishop b5. He's gonna go right into it with bishop g5. So I like the decision from Jan here.
Yeah, and queen f3, bit of a silent. Hikaru, to be honest, I'm quite surprised by Magnus' decision to play the knight off in a game where it draws enough to advance.
Yeah, I think what I would say about this, generally speaking, is that Magnus wants to keep the position more complicated. I think Magnus is more in the mood of trying to experiment and take chances as opposed to doing whatever it takes to win the match specifically. So I think Magnus is in the mood to experiment and see how good people's preparation is across a wide variety of openings these days. That's my general read of why he's playing this.
And we have to move bishop d2. To me, that one looks quite surprising.
I was going to say, I feel like queen f3 is a line that all those years ago, I feel like when I was in Linares in the early 2000s and I was there playing the open turn, I remember watching one of the games. I think it was Gary Kasparov with a black piece against Michael Adams, maybe 2003. And I think Adams actually played this queen f3 line. He played either queen f3 or queen d3, but I think it was queen f3 if I'm not mistaken. I mean, obviously, I can probably find that very easily. But nonetheless, I think queen f3 is one of these very, very old lines, if I'm not mistaken. So, at any rate, we got h6 and bishop d2. Bishop d2 also looks kind of weird. I thought bishop e3 made more sense, but bishop d2. I mean, maybe this is some kind of preparation that that Nepo did for the World Championship or the candidates once again.
Actually, can you tell us?
Oh yeah, go ahead.
Can you tell us just a little bit? You talked to yourself in the interview yesterday about how you don't necessarily want to reveal all the openings. As you said, you started preparing for Qatar for Isle of Man. Do you think it's kind of the same here with Nepo not necessarily wanting to go into the sharpest, modern theory?
Possibly. I mean, just looking at this opening, I don't really know what's going on. Either this is prep or Nepo is just completely bluffing altogether here. So I don't really know what's going on. But I think for Nepo, yes, he's already probably at the stage where he's begun preparations for the candidates. I don't know if he's playing any other tournaments before then. I mean, maybe he's playing the Grand Swiss and Isle of Man, although I don't think he is. So if he's not playing Isle of Man, he's not playing Qatar. I mean, really, it's hard to see him playing any classical tournaments, maybe one or two just quick events as warm-ups before the cans, but he's definitely in full-on candidates mode already. So I think that probably there is something to be said for saving some of these ideas that he has, because they are very important. That being said, I don't think a Najdorf is something that most people are going to be playing in the candidates. Last time someone played the Najdorf, his name was Alireza Firouzja, and he got blown off the board by the streamer Hikaru. So I don't think it's necessarily what we're going to see in the candidates, but you still want to have some ideas nonetheless.
Yeah, and I also remember from that same candidate's Nepo, he also destroyed Alireza in a very sharp variation. So it just seems like a very risky strategy, as there's just so many things one can do there.
Yeah, I mean, I don't expect people to try and play like that. I think for Alireza, it was a huge mistake. My general read of that situation, all the jokes aside, is that Alireza was in this mode where it's like basically he had to win the cans. You have to do everything you can to win it. So he wanted to play every game and be as sharp as possible. But at the end of the day, the way that you win the candidates normally is not by trying really hard with both colors. It's trying to capitalize on some small advantages with the white pieces and remaining very solid with the black pieces. And it was just very surprising to see Alireza play the Najdorf in the candidates. But it didn't work out. So I don't think people are going to play it, but nonetheless, you want to have some ideas. And so Nepo surely has better ideas than this. And just looking at this position, this all looks kind of ridiculous to me. Like, I don't know. I'm really confused by Nepo's approach. Like, maybe if Sess is analyzing the game, it will say bishop d2 is a good move. But I'm almost certain that bishop e3 was just the right move. It's just bishop d2 just does not look right at all. So I'm kind of curious what's going to happen. We'll probably get h4, but h4 might hang a pawn with knight e5. Because h4, knight e5, and you lose pawn g4.
Well, that's where bishop d2 comes in. So after knight takes g4, this move does not come with the tempo. Like Nepo knew all along.
You're right, exactly. Yeah.
But yeah, like jokes aside, it does not look very cohesive by Nepo. It go bishop g5, then bishop d2 back, queen f3, now queen e2 back. Like you usually get these positions with already like a bishop on g2 and a pawn on h4. So I feel like black should be very comfortable here.
Yeah, it feels like black should be fine. But on the other hand, it's also one of these situations due to computers where somehow I have a feeling that having not played f4 already, like maybe white hits some h4, g5 very quickly, or somehow black has to waste time playing a move that looks normal but isn't actually very good. So I think there is some chances, some kind of very weird prep from the computer where it says it's losing the tempos doesn't matter at all, and for some reason it's completely fine for white. But still hard to judge, hard to judge, and we have a long way to go here. Like Magnus has to decide, does he want to play g5 here to stop the pawn thrust with f4 and h4, or does he want to go for something else? Like, for example, does he want to play like knight e5 or something along those lines as well? Okay, so he does play knight e5, which is apparently a mistake of f4 here.
Wait, can you do this?
Oh, you want to sack on b5? Oh, you're right. F4 knight 4 knight b5 is probably just winning, right? Yeah. No, this is very good for white. Actually, that's a huge mistake then.
But Nepo also
F3. What?
Blunder. Okay. Yeah, like I guess maybe. Wait, I guess with f4 you do sack a pawn, but like, yeah, you just trap your own knight. So a little bit surprising that Nepo did not take a little bit of time there to figure it out.
Magnus is upset. I think Magnus, you saw him give that look. He's like, what's going on? Yeah. Oh, maybe Magnus thinks, was it a mouse slip? But Jan isn't showing any reaction.
No, I mean, I think he intended to go f3. I mean, otherwise we would see.
No, I think Magnus saw f4. I think Magnus saw f4, and then he was like, "Why did he play f3?" I think Magnus missed that there was h3, but now suddenly Magnus has blundered right back. So now it's game on. Apparently, this is very good for white now because Magnus has gone for the classic g5 to stop f4.
Yeah, so g5, like it stops f4, but I feel like objectively this usually is not very good. Like this pawn on g5 is kind of weak, and it's going to be difficult for black. Like this open h will always be annoying to deal with. So practically speaking, to be honest, it's not that easy. But I feel like objectively, it's not that good for black.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think that just looking at the position, it should be a little bit easier for white to play takes. Probably king b1 and bishop c1 will be incoming. And black has to figure out, like, where is the king going? Are you going to castle the king? Are you going to leave it in the center of the board on e8? Are you going to play for d5? These positions, I've always felt they look they look good. They look very good optically for black, and having played the Night Orc a lot, like I generally feel like it's good. But when you're actually in the moment, I feel like most of the time these g5 ideas to stop f4 generally are actually quite bad objectively. So I guess we'll see. We'll see what happens. I mean, computer hates this position for black, but we've got a long way to go because Magnus has the idea of knight f d7, knight b6, and knight c4 soon enough.
You talked about black's king position. What is your feeling? As you said, you've played the Night Orc so much. Do you think the king should stay in the center, or would you castle queenside?
I think the king generally stays in the center of the board here. Rook h6, by the way, a very nice move here. I think Nepo's idea, if there's knight f d7, at some point, maybe you're going to sack on e6 or sack on b5. There's probably going to be a big sack here at some point soon, I assume.
Yes, with knight f d7 by Magnus provoking Nepo to sack. I mean, it's definitely a possibility, but I don't know if it works out right away. And to answer your question, Hikaru, it might not be out of the question. Magnus at some point is just going to go queenside castles, maybe tuck the king away with king b8 or rook c8. Does not look too bad. And now Nepo goes queen h2, preparing to line up some threats on the king side.
Yeah, I mean, I think you're going to have to castle here. But just speaking from my personal experience of having played the Night Orc a lot, there are times when you think the king is safe with the queenside castle, but very rarely have I ever seen a situation where it's actually good. Almost always, it's actually very dangerous if you have to castle queenside, because you do allow ideas like knight takes b5 at some point. So it's kind of scary here, kind of scary.
Yeah, is this a case of having to choose between the lesser evil? Because if you stay in the center, what rook h8 is going to come in. Castling queenside also doesn't look great, so
I think you actually have to castle, because if you don't castle, there's always rook h8. So there are also ideas
threats like rook e6 and queen h5 down the line.
Let's say black were to play rook c8, for example. Here, there are even ideas like queen h5, and I mean your e6 pawn is super loose. Now this, however, looks like a blunder. There's probably knight takes b4 5 here. This looks like
Can you do this? Computer wants a sack attack. Oh, this hitting the queen, so you go here.
Yeah, and then you have bishop b4. Maybe that's just winning. I mean,
Yeah,
Magnus is asking. He's asking Nepo to sack. If Nepo doesn't sack here, I mean, I don't even know what you're playing for. Like you got. I mean, it's a must-win situation. So like sacking the bishop makes a lot of sense.
He's disrespecting him. He's like, "Come on, sack, bro, sack, bro." So like, Nepo's just got to go for it here. Come on.
I mean, for Nepo, it's great though, because like this is a situation where he's down a point. Like it's not something where the match is tied, and if he blunders and loses the game, he loses the match. He's down a point, he has to win. So like the difference between a win and a loss here, it makes no difference. So he should obviously go for it. He should definitely sack. Even if I don't see a win right off, it just intuitively it looks correct with bishop b4, bishop b7, and then I don't know, like queen h5.
And he goes for it.
Oh, but he takes with the knight. He takes with the
knight. This is also completely
bishop.
fine. This is also very good. And yeah, like judging from Nepo's camera, he was looking at it and he was like, okay, really? Like, are you really going to allow me to do this? And yeah, he rightly takes up the challenge.
Yeah, so I assume we're going to get queen b6 and bishop b4 probably is what I expect to happen.
Yeah, you just get this big attack. You also get 3 pawns. I mean, like you said, for a must-win game, this is great. Like, it would be difficult if you're in the must-draw situation, so to speak, because you feel like this is the right move, but do you really want to sack a piece when you only need a draw? But here, it's very easy.
Yeah, here it doesn't matter. So if you lose, it's a loss is the same thing as a draw. And that's also like, not to really rehash earlier's match today that I played, but I played a match earlier today against Anish, and in the second game with the black, I played this d6, g6 modern stuff, essentially because the difference between a draw and a loss is the exact same. Like I could have been solid, made a draw, but I still would have lost the match. So when you're in situations which are must-win, you are willing to take much more risk in pursuit of the victory because a loss doesn't matter at all. And it's interesting, Nepo actually got it from the board here at a very critical moment in the game. Now, this is something that you're really not supposed to do. I know during some of the earlier tours, like there are times when I had to run to the restroom or Nepo had to run to the restroom, but in this position, I mean, at this critical position of the game, getting up here when you can, I mean, is very, very questionable. Very questionable getting up here rather than getting up on like move 3 or move 4.
Yeah, like, of course, I don't suspect Nepo of anything, but I do agree with you because it feels like it's a critical position. Maybe you just need like one move for the knockout punch. So
yeah, exactly.
But there we have him back.
Yeah, I mean, to get up on the board at this moment is like, yeah, very questionable.
He comes back with the bottle of water. It could be the players need to have a second camera, right? We can't rule out that he remained within the shot.
but that doesn't necessarily mean anything. Because for example, like I have my camera behind me, right? I think you guys can see it in Zoom, but normally I have my camera right behind me, like right there. Actually, in Zoom, it's great. You can sort of figure it out. So that only catches this way. So if you go side to side, for example, like got up and went over to the side, you don't know if I'm getting a bottle of water or what I'm doing. Which I think is the single biggest reason why you have to stay at your board. You have to stay seated at your computer when you're playing. So yeah, I mean, obviously we don't suspect anything, but I still think it's very, very questionable to do it at literally the most critical moment of the game. When if you know that one good move here is a knockout blow.
So bishop
we talked about bishop b4. Yeah.
Oh yeah, go ahead. Yeah, no, yeah. I was just gonna say it looks very natural.
Looks
pretty
very
much the
natural.
only move here. Mm-hmm.
I mean, activating all the pieces, the rook from d1, as you were saying earlier, Benjamin, like, I think we get back all the material we invested. Do you feel that this is just very close to being lights out?
I mean, I after bishop b4, I don't even know what you're supposed to do. I assume you have to go bishop e7, but bishop d6 takes, knight d6, king f8, and I know rook h7 and queen h6. I mean, it looks, I know, practically speaking, it looks so bad. It just looks so bad.
Okay, so Jan plays the best move, very logical one, after 1 minute and 19 seconds. Very suspicious. And we have bishop e7 instantly by Magnus.
Okay, dude.
Okay, no, never mind. Okay, so let's see. So do we take the knight or take the knight?
Yeah. And for anyone who wants to like start some drama, like it's not really that I think anybody thinks he's cheating, but he's always the first person to point out when anything is suspicious from anybody, including myself. So it's just kind of funny that he's one of the ones like breaking the rules here, because he definitely would have something to say if I got it from a game that I was playing at a critical moment, 100%. Okay, so what do we get? We got rook takes d6.
So bishop c6, I expect. Queen c7, there's bishop b5. I expect. Otherwise, bishop b5 looks pretty nasty and kind of, Black's position is very suspicious. Yeah, okay. Queen c7, bad move. Wait, why?
Bishop. There's probably a sack here. Is it rook? Probably you take with one of the rooks. I don't know why it's winning, but I'm sure there's a sack here that's winning.
And bishop d6. I guess you. Huh. So let's say let's have a look. So let's say we go here. Here, Black is fine. So it's now bishop e5. Apparently, we sack.
Ah, this is a good point. You're right, because the idea is just a castle. So you almost have to sack here. But where's the win? So takes, king d8, bishop d6, queen a5 with the idea of queen e1. And then queen h7. Queen h7 is the win.
I guess the rook is trapped. That's the real problem. Yeah. The rook is trapped. But it's really dank. It's really dank to me.
I mean, it doesn't seem obvious, but on the other hand, if you realize that Magnus is just going to castle next move and be completely fine, you almost have to go for it.
Yeah, but you do go down a lot of material. I mean, you go down a rook and a piece there. So it's to realize after queen h7, okay, this rook is trapped. I have enough threats. Like, to me, it doesn't seem easy at all. But hey, Nepo, he's a magician, just like you, Hikaru.
Yeah, I mean, it's not easy, but I feel like for Nepo, again, it's great that he's in a must-win situation because it becomes a lot easier to sack a rook here. It becomes a lot easier to do that, to just sack a rook on e6 here and play bishop d6, because in this position, if you don't do it and Magnus gets castle, I mean, maybe there's some way you maintain a positional advantage with all the pawns for the knight, but I think Magnus has great chances to survive. So it's actually not hard to do it. Whereas in this situation, if like a draw was fine, it would be very hard to sack a rook here. But I think the fact that it's must win, I expect Nepo to sack on e6. I think he will.
Yeah, apparently
but do you
also
think...
viewers...
Oh no, go ahead, Fiona, my bad.
No, just a viewer, as I was saying, the stream is lagging a bit for me, so I can't see the players right now, but apparently Nepo also gave a big reaction to Magnus playing queen c7, so he must sense that there is something.
Well, it's sort of like disrespect isn't the words. I mean, it is a move, but it's almost like you're baiting. He's like trying to bait Nepo into like sacrificing material. It's like you're forcing Nepo to be super aggressive and sack material is what it's like. So I mean, I expect rook e6. If Nepo doesn't play rook e, because the thing is, I don't even see what other moves you have. Rook h8, there's just castles. Bishop e2, just castles. And I mean, maybe you can go rook d1 with the idea of bishop d6. I mean, that's maybe the only other idea I see is rook to d1. That's really the only other move that makes sense to me. Because bishop b5, there's also castles. So once you see that black is castling on every single move that you play, I think rook e6 is not that difficult to play. But seeing queen h7
and he goes for it. Wow. Yeah. He sacks the rook. Okay, king d8 only move here. And now we're going to go in with bishop. Okay, queen h7. He takes the rook right away, but now there's bishop e7.
King c8.
I guess it's still good, but it's not as convincing. So let's have a look. So knight f6 only.
Wait. Look at Magnus's face. Magnus. What is Magnus doing? Okay, he's talking to himself in Norwegian.
Why is he so unhappy? Like, and I'm sure he sees this move, right?
I mean,
wait,
maybe he doesn't see knight f6. Maybe he thinks he's just lost here.
Or maybe he's just thinking to himself, like, why did I do this in a game where I only needed a draw? Why did I provoke Nepo so much?
Yeah. But it's still very unclear. I mean, it's very unclear after knight f6, right? Because bishop e7, king c8, rook f6, rook e8, queen f5, queen d7. I mean, maybe this is winning for white. Don't get me wrong, but still.
I mean, like, the engine wants to do this and just claim, like, okay, you've got six pawns for the rook and the king is weak, but I don't know. I would not be convinced at all, like, during the game that this is the way to go.
Yeah, I wouldn't either. I mean, to me, bishop d6 first seemed obvious.
Do you think?
I mean, if you see queen h7, I don't know why you don't play bishop d6 first. That's the main thing. I don't understand why you don't play bishop d6 to begin with.
Do you think he just played too fast there in that moment?
I don't know if it's too fast or maybe he just assumed there's a forced win here because this looks completely winning. Like even queen f5 here might be playable. Like there's so many options in terms of moves. But Magnus has done one thing right here, which is Magnus is moving quickly. Because if Magnus were to get low on time, I think there's almost no chance of him saving this game just due to the weak king and the fact that white's going to have a bunch of pawns for the rook. So Magnus is doing that part correctly, at least. I think queen f5 is actually not hard to play here, by the way.
But knight ed7?
There's knight fd7.
No, knight ed7. Because I think if you go knight fd7, then again, bishop d6, and we have the same thing.
Ah, bishop d6 and queen h7. Ah, you can change the order. Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Okay, well we got queen f5.
Queen f5. So, but now I guess knight ed7 makes sense. Like you save both knights. And Magnus
I'm
might have
really
spotted like bishop
unconvinced.
d6.
But knight ed7 and what's the win? Rook f6? Then queen e5. I mean, I'm very unconvinced here. But the funny thing is, if Magnus doesn't see bishop d6 first with then queen h7, he probably will move knight fd7 here. That's the funny thing. If Magnus doesn't realize that bishop d6 and queen h7 order is winning, he's probably going to put the other knight there trying to go for a repetition. Yeah, see, he does it. He doesn't see bishop d6 and queen h7, so he does the other move order. But the problem with this move order is that now bishop d6 and queen h7 is almost hard not to play it unless you're going to play bishop d5. But you're down a rook and a piece, so you have to do something fast.
Exactly, because now like Nepo knows like, okay, now there's no knight f6 move. And so
he's going to find it now. He's going to find it after queen a5, queen h7 is screaming to be played. It's just screaming to be played in the position. It's funny actually.
I mean, this is really crazy. I mean, after everything we've seen so far in this match, I have to say I'm shocked that Jan found it in him. I think he was helped by Magnus's opening choice. Magnus like clearly was provoking him a bit there. But it looks like we might now be heading for an Armageddon in this crazy, crazy match.
Yeah, I mean, Magnus has totally been provoking Jan the whole game, and I don't really understand it. I mean, I guess Magnus just doesn't respect Jan. He thinks that he's just better than Jan. I mean, of course he thinks he's better than Jan, but nonetheless, I feel like Magnus here, everything he's doing is like it's all about provocation and thinking that and basically thinking that like he can walk on water. But out of all the people on the top, I feel like Jan is probably the player who's most sack happy. Like he loves the sack piece, he loves to attack. So to me, it seems like Jan, out of all the people he could do this against, is probably the single worst person to try and bait into sacrifices. Because Jan loves to sacrifice. He loves to attack.
So let's see. It's not over just yet. White has a queen, but black has got a rook and two knights. That being said, white also has 5 pawns, and black's king is weak. But the rook right now is under attack, so where is Jan going to go? Like, rook e6 looks very tempting to me, but maybe rook a f8, and then I guess there's queen h7, but it doesn't look very cohesive necessarily. So, Hikaru, where would you go with the rook?
Rook h6 or rook d1 are the two moves that to me make the most sense. I think both are probably quite good. Computer wants rook h6. I don't actually understand why, but
I guess to go queen e6.
Oh yeah, if you go rook d1, there's if you go rook d1, there's rook f8, queen e6, rook f6. I think that's why. But you know what the problem is here for Magnus is that I just think there are too many pawns at the end of the day. Like even here, for example, let's say you could magically play knight takes f6, and for a moment, let's assume I were to take the knight on f6 even. You still have so many pawns here for the 2 rooks and the knight that I feel like white has chances. I mean, obviously you can't take the rook, but it feels like even there, which is the best that Magnus can get, it's still going to be very hard to play. So, I mean, he's going to go rook e8, right? Oh, but rook
e8 we're gonna find out. He can also go rook f8, f4, or rook trade, which I think would make sense, as this rook is a pretty dangerous attacking piece. I'm a little bit surprised by Nepo's move. I mean, obviously you cannot take, but this rook also isn't going anywhere for the moment.
Yeah, I mean, I think at the end of the day, it's just going to be too many pawns. I think it's just too many pawns for Magnus to defend against. That's my best guess. I think Jan should win this game. I think Magnus will probably somehow unwind this, and we'll get like a rook knight bishop versus like a queen and like 3 or queen and 4 pawns, and Nepo should win this game.
I guess eventually with this bishop coming in, it's just going to be too much.
It should be too much. I mean, again, we'll see. There's still a long way to go, but it feels like it should be too much. It really does feel like it should be too much here.
Now, Hikaru, we know you're a wizard, especially when you're lost. So how would you try to save this game here with black?
I mean, trying to save this, I think, is asking for a lot here, honestly. I mean, I think what you have to do is basically somehow keep the knights in the center of the pawn on g5. But because there are no pawns on the queen side, any idea of fortresses just don't exist altogether here. That's the biggest problem you have. Like if you could magically put a pawn on the queen side, like on a7 or b6, maybe there's some fortress ideas. But the fact that white has 3 pawns on the queen side means there's never going to be a fortress at all. So I think practically it's hopeless. But what you hope to do is maybe get some endgame where you can keep all the pieces on the board, like keep the rook, the 2 knights, and the bishop on the board. Like just trade 1 set of rooks and then gobble like all 3 of the king side pawns, like e4, f3, and g4. I don't think it's realistic, but I think that's the best you can hope for.
Yeah, we see Magnus time ticking down. Surely he must be kicking himself here. He does play rook f8.
Yeah.
And we see. So how
There
do you
goes one
take
pawn,
now?
though.
Yeah, how do you
Right.
take that pawn? With the
But
rook?
bishop b5? I mean, the
But
point
then
is,
bishop
like,
b4.
yeah,
There goes another one.
but can't you take on d7? Surely this is winning.
But
No, I just feel like
knight
even
takes.
this, yeah, queen a5. I mean, I'm just saying, practically speaking, this is just like, it's just expecting to draw this when white has a queen in 4, which should be queen in 3. I mean, it just seems very unlikely. Honestly, it just seems very unlikely that Magnus can survive this.
Okay, it's not over yet though, and like I guess eventually if he gets something like queen and 3 versus a rook, bishop, and a knight, I guess you win slowly but surely. But it's gonna take some time. For the moment though, there's no way to pick up the bishop. Let's say. This
is true, yeah. So what's gonna happen is we're gonna get queen a5, probably king d6, queen d2, and then I think Jan will start pushing p on the queen side. That's what I expect to happen. But realistically, I think the time situation is going to be a big problem too. Like, it's not a problem yet for Magnus, but I think the issue is that Jan's moves are all going to be reactionary again. He just pushes pawns, and Magnus is going to have to use all his time to avoid getting forked or hanging a piece somewhere down the road. And I mean, if Magnus saves this, like, I would be very, very surprised, because I just think in this one, it's I mean, it's a queen and 4 pawns. It's wide. Peoples are split. White is 3 connected. Your king is also open here. So realistically, I don't think that Magnus can save this. I'd be very surprised.
Yeah, it's also really annoying for black that for the moment this G pawn is on the board. Like, you're eventually probably going to pick it up, but it's going to take so much time. And in the meantime, white's going to push forward on the queen side. But let's see how Nepo is going to do it.
So he goes queen b4, which I like. It's a good move because Magnus now, the thing is, if Magnus retreats with the bishop, now you just push g5 or you push a4, a5. It's just too many wide peepos, too much p to push. And I think this is just going to be GG very soon. I mean, as great as Magnus is, I just don't see him saving this end game. I just don't see it.
Once it's GG's, we're going to Armageddon. Who do you see as a favorite there, with bearing in mind this last game?
Well, to be fair, actually, Nepo made a mistake. I think queen b4 is a bad move because now it's not so easy to save the g pawn. And even that endgame with like rook, bishop, and knight versus queen and 3, I mean, it is winning probably with perfect play, but there still are going to be some practical tricks here. Magnus doesn't look happy.
Gave it
I don't know why.
Okay, I guess you go king d8, right? Because otherwise there's queen d2 and you're going to have to give a check here. And he's playing best defense so far, so it's not over yet. And like black also
so tricky because every move you have to be careful. Like queen h8, if king c7, you lose to queen h2, for example. Like, it feels so hard to play this position.
Okay, pushes
g5,
so
which I like.
Can black go rook f2 here, or still lose on the spot?
Maybe queen a5, king e8, queen e1, maybe. Yeah, I mean, he does it.
But is it like, let's say you go down that line, right? Like queen a5, you go king c8, you go here, black takes, and rook g2. Is it winning if you give up the queen for the bishop and the rook, or?
I think it probably is, but I mean, it's so dank. I think it's probably winning. That's my guess. But let's see. I mean, Magnus has saved worse before, so it's not like implausible. But I do think there are just too many pawns on the board here. Like, I think queen a5, queen e1, queen c. What? Queen e3? What?
No, but now he gives up a pawn. Rook f1 and bishop c2.
Oh my god, what is Nepo doing?
But queen e2, bishop b1. Like, what is he doing? Like, I think Magnus might save this.
I mean, there's still b4, b5, but yeah, I mean, this is insane. What is Nepo doing?
Hikaru,
honestly insane.
On a scale of 1 to 10, if Nepo does not win this, how disappointed would you be in him?
I mean, I'll be very disappointed. I mean, it's like, how do you blunder this? I don't even understand this. I don't understand this. I mean, it's just beyond belief to me. I mean, I still think that Magnus has a tough task ahead. But I mean, there are legitimate chances now to maybe save this.
Do you feel in this position with time ticking down, let's say the players both get to a minute, does it favor Magnus or Jan?
I would assume it favors Jan just because Magnus still doesn't have perfect coordination of the 3 pieces.
Yeah, they're all a little bit loose. It's still very easy to hang a bishop or a knight due to a fork. And you're just pushing P.
Yeah, I mean, I think when I look at the position, to me, the problem for Magnus here is that what is the best he can get? That's the problem. Like, what can he actually get here? Like, how does he stop the pawns? Like, now you have to worry about B6 here. You have to worry about B6, B7. You have to worry about A4, A5. The king is actually, I mean, I don't want to say safe because that's the wrong word, but the king on A2, it doesn't feel like you can go after the king. So if you can't move the knight, then it's going to be very hard. I expect A4, of course, as expected,
yep.
E5. But Magnus is also playing this incredibly well now.
So where do you go? Do you go to D2?
I would probably go to F4. Oh, no, F4, there's rook E4. No, you can't. You have to go to D2. You're right. Queen F4, rook E4, and already it's a draw, I think. Or rook Queen D6, maybe. But yes, I mean, this is... Yeah, this is still tricky. Very tricky.
Like if the Queen D2, let's say Black goes here, like what do you do with white? It's not obvious at all to me.
Yeah, probably you go King A3 and you just keep trying to improve the position.
Mm-hmm. Okay, Queen D4. Okay, you cannot take as a Queen H4.
No, but now there's rook E... you have Queen H8 check, maybe. Or Queen D1.
Or Queen A7?
Oof. Yeah, Queen A7 is actually probably the best move to go for B6.
Very sloppy by Jan, but it's still looking tough for Magnus. Like he still has a bit of time, but like practically it's looking tough. Okay, so rook E4. Okay, Queen A7.
Yeah, Queen A7 or Queen D6. One of those two moves has to be played.
And King B3, yeah, and everything.
Yeah, I mean Queen D6 is, but I think Queen A7 is. But Queen A7 rook B4 maybe. Wow, he finds Queen D6. Nice find by Jan. Very, very impressive find with the time situation.
So you have to move the bishop, maybe check. What do you do with the bishop?
Do you go back? Do you go to F7? Do you go to F5?
But, you know, also, Jan has to be very careful after bishop F5 here to not play B6. After rook A4, King B3, rook A5, black is completely fine. That's actually, like, he has to be very, very careful not to play that.
He checked.
But he played bishop F7. Okay, so...
Wait, but is there bishop E3? Wait. He might have to walk back. King A5, rook, bishop E3 looks fine, no?
Actually, you see Magnus's look on the face. He suddenly realized that there's a trick. Yeah, you see Magnus, he just sat up. He realizes there's bishop B3.
Is there still B6 and King B5, though?
You want to go B6 here? Maybe.
But, okay, Nepo's taking his time. Maybe, yeah, he walks the king back, right decision.
Correct
and
decision.
Not King B2.
Easily. Yeah.
Okay. So what does Magnus do now? Like
Nepo,
Magnus's,
Magnus's fortress idea here is something like rook E4, G6 takes, and rook A4. And maybe there's some way to save this endgame with the rook and knight versus queen and pawn. Maybe. I mean, I'm skeptical.
If you get the rook here, I think it's a draw.
Mm-hmm. Agreed.
But do you get it again? Magnus now below a minute. This is looking tough.
Yeah, I mean, I don't really see how Magnus saves this because G6, and B6 are both big threats here. And rook E6, queen F4, and then you go A5, A6. I mean, it doesn't seem likely that he'll save it, but I mean, crazier things.
But I was just wondering, so you said rook E4, G6. Is there rook E6? By the way, we have more moves. We have rook E5 by Magnus. So he's attacking the pawn right away.
Right.
Push? Wait, push?
G6, wait. Rook E6. Plays B6, okay. Yeah, I mean, I think...
So bishop D5 only move. No, but I think you just lose. No, I think you just lose because I don't see a fortress with like...
Yeah, just G6 and then A5 and you just push the P, right? Yeah.
Or Queen C7 and B7.
Is that a draw? Is that winning? Yeah, it's probably winning, right? And
yeah,
Magnus is now burning the clock. So I think this is winning.
It should be winning. I don't think you stop the pawn there. G6. Wait, but
okay.
But now rook E6.
Queen C7 and
it's very sloppy. But why did he just push?
This is still winning. This is still winning, but man, he's made a real hash out of this. Like Queen D5 check. Is Queen D5 actually winning or not? Like
I think that is a fortress. So let's put this on the board. So take here, you take, and you go like King C8.
And you get Knight B8.
Yeah, like Knight B8, that's a fortress. That's a fortress for sure.
Yeah, no, agreed. I mean, if I'm Jan, I'm going Queen C7 and A5 for sure. Yeah.
And there he goes. Oh, wait, no, he didn't. Yeah, there we go.
A5?
Yep. Okay, A5,
what?
yep.
What is b7? What the heck? Wait.
Wait, no, but Magnus blunders. She had rook e2 and bishop d5.
d5 was a draw. Oh
okay,
my god.
Take now and a5.
Wow. Oh my, so bad from Jan. But now it's easy. A5 because the queen covers sheet. Oh my gosh, so lucky.
Okay, rook
he
g6.
through that. That's so unreal.
It's not over yet. Don't go a6. There's rook b6.
Yeah,
king
this should be
c2.
winning, right? No, it's not over.
Okay,
It's king d8 still. Wait. It's still tricky.
King c2 looks really sloppy to me. Like, why didn't he walk the king up? But this should be winning, right?
Probably
like,
king
push,
c3 and you still walk. But a6 there's rook b6.
And then check.
King c7.
Push. Rook a6. And like, what do you do?
Like, yeah. Okay, yeah, he's just gonna walk the king.
King up.
But how do you?
Where do you go now?
Because you can't walk the king all the way up. There's still rook g5.
King d4. No, but now rook g6.
Yeah. Probably king c2 and king d2. Yeah, he's gonna walk the king over this way. Okay, now a6.
Okay, push.
Yeah.
Yeah, just push. I mean, come on. King anywhere.
Probably king d2, or king d1 or somewhere.
Yeah,
I would go king
d2.
King d1, yeah.
Make sure you never get forked, yeah.
Yeah, now I think
no, but
a8,
check.
a7. There you go, a7.
Yeah, and that's it.
Rook c8.
Okay, queen d5. Queen d5 is game over. Rook c7, queen a5. Yeah.
Yeah, queen d5.
Okay.
Not hard to find. But let's see, one more
Armageddon time. What? What is that? What is queen h1?
It's still good enough,
I'm sure it's winning, but like... he wants this.
Or not.
What is going on? I don't... Hikaru, like, what is going on? I don't get it at all.
Queen b5? What is he doing?
What?
No, I mean, queen b5 is the only move now.
But rook a7, how do you win?
Oh, I see your point. King c3? I don't understand. I mean, like, I'm just so confused by all of this. Like, once again,
here's the thing. You might win by one move. Look at this. Queen b5, rook a7, king c3, king c7, king b4, and he finds it. And like knight b8, check, king knight here, and king d5.
King c3.
Yeah, king up.
Yeah, I think you're right.
I think he's going to win. But now...
King b4, knight b8. No, knight b8, because there's a fork. You have king d8. Oh my god. You have knight b8, queen c5, king d8.
Oh. Oh, what the frick? King c8, yeah. And he finds it. No, king c8, king c8. You cannot take the rook. Okay, so check, or is this a draw?
I think this is a draw.
No, wait, you win because you go like check, check, king d8, and king b6, and king b7. King b6.
King b6 here? Oh,
yeah,
wow.
and he finds it. And I do trust Nepo to win rook and queen versus... No, rook versus...
He's going to win this, but... Oh, my gosh. Yeah.
Okay,
queen g8.
It's not over yet.
Anywhere. Yeah, I mean...
Yeah, now you pick up the knight. Hikaru...
With limited time on the clock, there's no way Nepo doesn't win this.
Yeah, it's just too easy to hang the rook. Like, you go like rook d7. Okay, Magnus, hang on. How disappointed would you be?
Insane. Game 2 was so insane. I don't think we could expect something even crazier. We're gonna also have to replay just a couple of those moments because I think chat could relate to me. Like a lot of this went so much over my head. So we're gonna have to replay it in slow-mo.
Why is Nepo's wasting moves though? He played queen f2, which was completely unnecessary.
So the last capture was what? Move 16.
76.
79.
Oh no, my bad. Yeah, like he still has a lot of moves. Wait,
yeah, that's true. Yeah. Oh, now you can check, right? There's some kind of check here, and you go king c6. I think you check and then king e8, king c6, or king c6 right away. Yeah, he's gonna win this now. Yeah, he will win this. That's insane that Nepo very nearly threw this. Just absolutely insane. Yeah, and now I think
Magnus losing the rook yet or not?
Yeah, king d5 is good too. King e5, and now the king's headed towards the corner again. Yeah, queen h6, of course, and then king g8, and I think then you check king f8, king e6. Yeah, that's how you get the winning setup. Yeah.
Okay, I think I was lost there for a second, but yeah, I think okay. Don't go king d6, by the way.
Yeah, queen h8, king e7, queen h5. I think is the cleanest way to win here. Yeah.
Rook over, maybe.
No, then. Okay.
He's letting Magnus off the hook.
I mean, there was one
Okay.
very strong
Queen
player who
c6.
once failed to win this, right? Was it Morozevich?
No, it was was it it was Gelfand Svidler. I think it was Svidler who failed to win it.
Then there were two, because I'm
Yeah, now
pretty
you check-
sure there was a
checking king e6,
Morozevich
right?
Yakovenko game as well, where one of them.
No, but he's just going back and forth.
What is Nepo doing?
Yeah, is he struggling to make progress here?
Okay. But check now.
The capture was
So-
move 79, right? So we've made 20
Yeah, so we're
moves already. Like,
Magnus hanging on for now. Okay, king
I think
up.
if Nepo doesn't win this game, it's just game over for him tonight. Like,
no, I mean this is. No, I think you check, go queen a3, and then king e6.
You check. King e7, maybe?
No, I mean I think this is going to be a draw. I don't think Nepo's going to win this. He doesn't have enough moves. This is unbelievable. I mean, literally. But queen c5 is a good move, actually. Very tricky move.
No, but king f7, I mean,
yeah.
Okay, but how?
Queen d5?
Like, okay, queen e5
d5.
now, and you have to. Okay, rook d7. And we're already 30 moves in almost. Nope.
No,
yeah,
he's not going
okay.
to win this.
Nope.
I don't believe this. This is insane. This is horrible. No, I mean, this is going to be a draw. This is going to be a draw. He doesn't.
we're 20 moves, 19 moves away from this being a draw by 50 move rule. This is just insane. I mean, this might be the most insane game I've seen in these tour tournaments.
Rook f7.
Rook f7, yep.
No, I think Magnus might already just be holding here because Nep is running out of moves. Rook
Yep.
back, or there.
I mean, how do you do this? I mean, how do you not win this?
Check. No, he's not. No, he's not going to make it.
I mean, just unbelievable.
He's not
10
making
moves
it.
to
I
go.
mean,
12 moves
It's not
to
even
go.
close. He didn't even get the king to the corner. Wow, horrible.
You can already see the wise smile on Magnus's face, you know, building
Yeah, just
up.
check. I mean, he didn't even make any. He didn't make any progress.
no,
No,
it's
you know
just
what's
play like.
you know what's really horrible about this situation? I'll tell you guys what's really horrible is that Jan's time situation or Jan's time user is really bad. Like there were a couple of moments once the king was on e8, about 10 or 15 moves in, when he had 30 seconds to think and he didn't think.
Yeah. So okay. Yeah. This is insane. Like, yeah, I felt like he was doing a good job.
He got the king to the corner, but it's like way too late. Queen e5 and king c6 is actually theoretically winning now, but it's too late. Yeah.
This is the most
Yeah.
insane finish to a game I've
Yeah,
ever
and Jan
seen.
is mad. Yeah, and Magnus is laughing because I mean that's just so bad.
Yeah.
By
I'm
the way,
speechless.
speaking of Russians, by the way, I did want to give you guys there was a very, very precise technique or technical win in, I believe, a queen versus rook between Sergei Karyakin and Magnus Carlsen. I think it was in Dubai in 2014. I might have the year wrong. But there was a game between Magnus and Karyakin where Karyakin had the queen, Magnus had the rook, and Karyakin actually played it textbook perfectly to win that end game.
It was 2016.
Yeah, that's so bad. Or it's 20. Okay, yeah, but I mean, at any rate, I remember it. Yeah, I mean, this is like, I mean, I'm just out of words. Really, really out of words. Yeah, I mean, really, the critical moment was somewhere.
Yeah,
I want to say the critical moment, if we go forward, is right around move number 91. And I know that king 6 was wrong, but somewhere around there after queen g5, king e8, king c6, this should have been winning. That's where he needed to use his time, was right around move 91. They were already, what, like 11 moves in, but the king was already in a very precarious situation, and Nepo had 38 seconds there. He needed to use try and come up with the concept, and he didn't use the time.
Right.
Yeah, actually, it's a very easy win. If you go queen g5 on move 91, I don't know if you want to show this, Benjamin. King d7, I think you have king d5. And it's just very actually king d5 allows king c7, but I feel like queen e5 is very clean as well. You have to just start forcing the king one way or the other.
But here, like checking here, you know.
Check. Wait, check where? Rook c8, king
Like,
d5, rook c7, and then like queen, I don't know, g3 maybe. Yeah, I mean, this should be winning, right? Rook g6, and then you have queen d6, king f8, queen c6, king b8, king d6. Yeah, and then you get the king in the corner. Or queen f8. I mean, that...
Wait, sorry, what did you want to do?
You go queen c6 check, I think. And if rook c7, you have queen e8 check,
yeah, and
king
then...
b7, king d6. And now the king's getting pushed over to the edge of the board. Yeah.
Yeah, and then you should eventually make it. Yeah, no, yeah.
Yeah, no, of course.
Shocking. I felt like perhaps he played a little bit too quickly here. He was playing very quickly, and I was thinking like, okay, actually, why not queen d6 here? This looks like a step in the wrong direction.
You thought queen d6, king e8, because king e6, rook f6. But nonetheless, I mean, I just like, with the time, I mean, the thing is like, I mean, obviously I have some experience in these type of end games, not just this one, but other ones as well. But I think the thing is that the most important thing, like actually, my example against Noterbeck is a poor example when I didn't mate with a bishop and knight against the king, because in that situation, there was no increment in that game, whereas in this game there is increment. And what I was going to say is that if you have increment, if you're in a situation where it's not just straight up, you have to like just move instantly. There are critical moments where you need to use like 5 or 10 seconds. Like once you blitz those 10 moves and you build up those extra 10 seconds, there's some critical moments where you need to use that time. And for Nepo, like if he had 5 seconds, like if he has 5 seconds, I would not be critical at all, because then you're just moving and you don't have time to come up with a plan. But when you have like 30 seconds, there comes some moments when you have to use that time, and he did not use his time well. And Nepo is going to be tilted off the face of the earth after this game, no doubt about it. So it's not good to be a Nepo fan.
Right. Now, I guess Oh, yeah, sorry. Yeah, I was just going to say the bright side of all of this is that you are just in time to play Title Tuesday, Hikaru.
Yeah, so I think I'll call it for right now. I already registered for Title Tuesday, so I'm probably going to boot up my stream, and I'll get rolling over on Twitch with the evening Title Tuesdays. So I think that's what I'll be doing. So I'll let you guys round it out, but I will be seeing everyone on Twitch probably in about like 5 to 10 minutes, and we'll be rolling right from there. So I'll see you guys over there in a few minutes. And thank you to Ben and Fiona again for doing all the coverage. So I'll let you guys wrap it up, but thanks again for having me, and I'll see you guys soon. So bye, everybody.
Cheers, Hikaru. Good luck for Title Tuesday. Yeah, I was just going to say, I don't know how Jan is gonna mentally recover from that. I mean, this is one of the most insane games. This game had, like, it just looked like Jan was gonna wipe him off the board out of the opening. And then, you know, it was winning for so long, and for it to end in this way, I mean, I am hurting. You know, I'm not even a Jan fan. I didn't have a favorite in this matchup, but I am hurting for him. You know, this one is one of the toughest pills, and he's already had to swallow so many tough pills in those matches. I mean, you gotta feel for Jan here.
Yeah, no, for sure. So yeah, it definitely hurts. So we're gonna have to wrap up over here, but yeah, go over to Twitch. I will probably stream. Yeah, actually, maybe I'll just stream on Kick. And yeah, so we're gonna wrap up. Make sure to go over to Hikaru's Twitch channel, as that's where he will be playing, or is he gonna be on here? Anyway, we're gonna wrap up, and yeah. You have fun cheering me on in Title Tuesday.
Good luck. Bye-bye, guys.